All right, welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. Larry Krueger, Ryan Smith.
There's the band.
There we go. Welcome to the Krueg Show after Monday Night Football. Steelers on the road, 24-17 winners over the Indianapolis Colts. Steelers got pressure on Matt Ryan. They pressured him all night long. 44% of his dropbacks, he was pressured tonight. Highest percentage in the NFL all year. Steelers get the win over the Colts. And guys, it's funny. Where are you guys on Kenny Pickett? Do you like Kenny Pickett? Are you a Kenny Pickett man?
I mean, like, I guess he could be like,
He's
there's
got
a
potential.
world where he's like maybe Jimmy G. I guess.
I think he's got some more. He's got a lot of mobility compared to a Jimmy G ever had. And I would say
that's like first year play. I mean, he's 24 years old also.
Yeah, but the fact
he wears
that
the gloves because he's got kind of small hands.
He's got some small flippers.
He put some
6'3",
balls
220. He's got for the year 3 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 20th pick out of Pitt. You know, it was a popular pick, right? When they turned in the card and they took the kid from Pitt, and people were like, "Oh, this is what they should have done with Marino," back in the day. And of course, now the kid's got to do it in his hometown, or at least in the town he went to college in. I'm not sure if he's a Pittsburgh kid, but I'll say this: you got a chance to be good if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, because one, they got a lot of talent. Two, the game means a lot to them, and defensively they're good. But I don't know. To me, that receiver, the kid George Pickens, is just a monster. I mean, at Georgia, he just kind of was just one of many guys because they're so loaded. But did you see that catch he had on the sidelines and got both toes down? I mean, Pickens he's good. I mean, he's a big, talented receiver with great hands.
Yeah, I think Pickens looks good. And then now that they got rid of Claypool, Ryan, want to kill that. Claypool has opened it up even more for Pickens. But who I was really impressed with tonight was the tight end for the Colts. Man, that guy looks like a big bruiser going down the middle of the field. Yeah, man. Get the ball. I wouldn't want to tackle that guy coming down. He looked like just a freight train coming at you.
Seriously, 6'8". He was incredible at Virginia, and now he's doing it with the Colts. He had a big night, almost 100 yards. Who's the best rookie receiver, guys? You can have any rookie receiver. I'll give you the top ones. You tell me who's your favorite this year. Treylon Burks for Tennessee, big monster receiver. Drake London from Atlanta. Jahan Dotson, Commanders. Alec Pierce, Colts. Pickens,
I still love Pierce. I think
Sky
Matt
Moore,
Ryan sucks.
Chiefs. Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs.
Chiefs? Who's with the Chiefs?
Sky Moore.
Okay.
Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson from Green Bay. Olave looked good this weekend against the Niners for the Saints. Garrett Wilson for the Jets, who went high. I think he went the highest, right?
10th. Yeah, I think he went 10th.
David Bell from Purdue, who's with Cleveland. Khalil Shakir from Boise is at Buffalo. Velus Jones Jr. with the Bears. Danny Gray has not done anything with the Niners, but that's basic. And then don't forget the guy who's still yet to hit the field this year, and that is Jameson Williams.
On IR and
Detroit.
pretty much all my fantasy leagues, just ready to.
And he might be a factor the way Goff is throwing the ball. And Jameson Williams, anybody who knows their Bama football, Jameson Williams, he might be the fastest of all of them. He might be the guy at the end of the year if Detroit actually found a way into the playoffs. Oh wait, I guess let's just stop right there. But Jameson Williams, I can't wait to see what he looks like when he hits the field.
So who's your guys? Who's your guy?
Who's your guy of all those rookies? Who's your guy?
Since there's two wide receivers.
Why don't we just do redraft? Who do you want?
Who do you want? Number one, all those receivers. You need a receiver.
You know who I think is going to have a great career is because of his size and speed and athleticism is Christian Watson.
So you take Christian Watson one?
as the first receiver, I mean, it's between him.
I wasn't going to let you take that easy out with just complimenting one of them.
There's 4
you need
of
to make
them.
a take, Dan.
There's 4 that I would look at. Watson, Olave, Pickens, and Garrett Wilson. Those 4. I just like I like a guy that can go up and get the 50-50 ball as well.
What about London then? London's probably the best at that.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the
John Dotson's got the best ball skills.
He doesn't have the speed that Watson has. See, Watson seems
who's looking monster in the last month is Treylon Burks.
Yeah, he's looking better.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's about 240 pounds too.
Yeah, he had got that touchdown this weekend, but it was also kind of like he fell on Henry's fumble or whatever, which was like a good heads up play. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. There's kind of like a tier, and they're all pretty good. Like Olave, we were talking about it during the game there. Like he's just pretty good, but like he doesn't really get talked about that much because there's nothing spectacular yet. He's probably like a top 15 fantasy guy right now.
Who's that?
Pickens is like, I think before the season I said my favorite 2 guys were Pickens and Pierce, and Pickens was solely because the Steelers drafted him, and they always choose right on wide receivers, and until proven otherwise, I'm going to keep thinking
Pierce
that
could
be
Pierce could be really good, but it's so hard to tell.
Matt Ryan is so dog-ass.
He's the worst.
Well, I mean, he had his O-line let him down tonight. I mean, he was pressured all night. I like Garrett Wilson. I know Garrett Wilson hasn't done it yet, but man, I like Garrett Wilson. That would be the guy.
They're all like in that tier together. Situation. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I like Jameson Williams too. If
he's the number 1 guy,
if he's
right?
Healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing is he's so spindly, and the NFL is not as physical as it used to be, but in some ways, it's still way too physical for him. So I don't know.
Devontae
he's a home run
Smith.
hitter, man. He is so fast.
But yeah, it's true.
Detroit is going to be. Think about it. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you got that guy running off the top of the defense. I mean, if they get anything going on the other side of the ball, or anything, beyond. I mean, they got the receiver game right there to make it happen. I was kind of impressed, by the way, guys, with Dan Campbell during the Hard Knocks. I don't know how you guys felt about him. But then I've been impressed by his team this year. I mean, I never watched them thinking, yeah, they're the more talented team, but they hang in almost every game that I've seen them in all year against all opponents, including Buffalo on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job of staying attached or like coming back and covering the spread late. I mean, Campbell, like, I don't know, like you can tell he motivates those guys. But also, like, he had some pretty bad, as a guy who had Lions money line, who thought that I was gonna have a great start to my Thanksgiving. Like, some of those decisions down the stretch, I think he left the game with all 3 timeouts and going for the field goal. But like, it was all just like a lot of like, oh, I would not have done that. Oh, I would not have done that. Oh, why'd you punt the ball? Why'd you kick off into the end zone? Why didn't you like pooch it and like shave some more time off the clock? It's just, ugh.
But I know people will probably be critical tomorrow of Saturday and the fact that he took a couple timeouts into the dressing room with him. But
whatever.
They weren't rushed there. I mean, yeah, could have called a timeout. Yeah, but
I think what he was trying to do originally was save the timeouts in case they didn't make if they had to turn the ball over on downs, they would have one last shot of, getting the ball back. But
do you guys think Campbell, Mr. BMW Lotus says Campbell will be gone after the season? I don't think so, because they won 3 in a row.
No way.
No.
There's no chance. No. I would bet anything that's not happening.
Yeah, he's also
just for wait a second. Why? I mean, look at the way they have played in Detroit. They're in every game.
Oh yeah, they're in every game, and they're coming around. They're young. They're building something there. I like what Detroit's doing. I think with Rodgers on his way out, probably of that division, and Minnesota's, aging in some spots, but I think Detroit I think that division is going to get flipped in the next couple of years. like a reverse between where you've always seen the last several years, Green Bay, Minnesota. I think it's going to be an inverse. It's going to be Detroit, Chicago, and then in a year or two from now, that will be the ones playing it out for the rest of this.
That's a dramatic.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say
no.
no.
On top for a while.
I'm going to say no to that just because first I got to see the Lions get a quarterback, like a quarterback with the looking towards the future that I trust, and also like ultimately I don't think Dan Campbell's going to be the answer there. I feel like they're probably like that kind of thing, like the Harbaugh stuff kind of works for a couple years and then it starts to get stale if you're not winning games.
Hey, guys, we got BMW, Mr. BMW Lotus. He's coming out ready to strike down on
all you Jimmy G fans. Keep that same energy when the playoffs come and we have to trust Jimmy G play. I will strike down on thee and rip you Jimmy G fans apart. We have just an okay quarterback, nothing more, nothing less. It's a lot of caps.
Yeah, I feel like instead of like displacing all of this, because it's almost like a you don't want to be hurt again. So it's like you need to find like an out before they eventually lose. Because I mean, what's the actual likelihood the Niners go on to pull it off and actually win the Super Bowl? So like if they lose in any sort of round, then you at least can be like, oh, I told everyone that Jimmy G was gonna let us down. But in reality, you should probably just be betting against the Niners. That's a better hedge, and at least you'll make some money off it.
I liked your preacher voice.
Yeah.
Matthew Mears says, will David Shaw get a head coaching job in the NFL? I think yes. All right, guys, what do you think? David Shaw,
No.
I mean,
depends if he wants to. He may not.
I consider David Shaw a friend. And I think he's a good football coach, and I know he's a good dude. I think some of the things that kind of ran downhill eventually for him at Stanford really were kind of things that were out of his control. The Pac-12 it's getting more and more difficult to compete nationally in the Pac-12. It's Pac-12 after dark is not exactly, the Pac-12 network hasn't grown, the Pac-12 image. I mean, I'll just say this from just when Andrew Luck was at Stanford, the crowds and the energy for a Stanford game compared to this year are like night and day, so they don't quite get the same support. I mean, the students are the students, but it's just a very sleepy atmosphere compared to the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, almost all the power conferences around the country. So I don't know why that is. Why is there no passion in Northern California for Stanford football? Is it about the product? Is it, and they've continued to recruit decently at times. They're getting some top guys, but it's just, you look at the facilities that the Oregon schools have, and you look at, now UCLA and USC and just Utah has become a power, and there's just a lot of competition. The bottom of the Pac-12 is way better than it used to be. It used to be they were all doormats. Now that's a competitive situation, but I just think it's so competitive that it's kind of not price Stanford out. Stanford's got more money than some nations in their endowment, but they're just kind of outclassed across the board as far as speed. I don't think they really, one thing I would say criticism I would have of Coach Shaw is I don't think he read the room as far as he didn't play a style of football that most recruits want to play. Most people want to spread it out, go fast, and, throw it all over the yard. They're going 3 yards in a cloud of dust and playing deliberately, incredibly slowly, not scoring those kinds of points that you see around the country. So it's kind of not the trend of what people, the top athletic weapons, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, not the kind of offense that they typically want to play in. So I think it's hard to attract them. I don't know that offense was the attraction to Stanford anyway, but I don't think that helped. Let's just say that. But I think David Shaw could coach in the NFL. Maybe, I'm not saying he's going to be a head coach, though I think he would be a good head coach. I think he could definitely jump in as a wide receiver coach and get his, career going towards being a head coach. I don't think he'll get an NFL head coaching gig, but I think he deserves one. I think he would be a very good NFL head coach. I don't know how you guys feel about Coach Shaw, but that one kind of, I want to say it surprised me, and in a way it didn't, because the whole program has kind of been sliding downhill as far as relevance for like 5 years running.
Yeah, I mean, I like David Shaw, but like you said, there are some things that they're a little bit handicapped and strapped when it comes to some recruiting with their admissions. I mean, they are a private university and everything, and they're not as bad as Cal. I mean, Cal's really strapped with their, board of regents and everything who they can go after, but still not like an SC or a UCLA or Oregon. You can get, guys got a pulse and
I think Stanford has the ability to pull off some more shenanigans than we're giving them credit for.
They do, but they do have a little bit, standards. Sometimes they hold to some of those standards where some of the schools.
That's what I'd say too if I couldn't get recruits. They just couldn't quite stack up.
But I'm cracking up here because I love Mr. BMW Lotus's comments. Hey morons. Hey, moron, read my introducing everybody to calling everybody morons in the chat. That's the way to win friends and influence people.
Hey, moron equals read my text. Read my text.
I don't know who he's talking to.
I like Mr. BMW Lotus. He brings a lot of energy.
Yeah, he brings the energy. He's
like
58 and he's not happy. The Niners haven't been to the Super Bowl since 94.
It's too bad nobody can, you can only go, uppercase or lowercase, and you can go full caps. You can't like bold it, if you could bold it,
bold, underline.
Yeah, underline, highlight, colorize, something like that.
Hey, we got to give credit to a legend, a Bay Area legend who just retired, announced his last Cal football game Saturday against UCLA, and that is the great Joe Starkey. What a Bay Area legend. Was here announcing Cal games since the 70s, did the Niners when they won a Super Bowl, he did the California Golden Seals before there was at the Oakland Coliseum they played in. And trying to think what else Joe did. He did Cal. He did
Niners.
The Niners. Yeah, I mentioned the Niners. He did the Niners.
He did KGO, afternoon KGO radio for years.
But I'm trying to think if he did any other sports teams. I know he did hockey with the California Golden Seals before the Sharks were here. And he may have done, I don't know if he ever did baseball, but Joe was awesome. And I had the privilege of being his spotter in high school for a game. It was just great.
How much was he putting up? Like 225?
Not that spot, like on his spotter. I had the binoculars.
He was a gymnast, and you were his Bella Caroli.
Yeah, I was pointing out to the press guy there who made the tackles and stuff, so he could quickly announce who made the tackle.
No.
So it was kind of fun.
Did I ever tell you my story from this was maybe 15 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago. So I'm sitting there at my parents' house, and Joe Starkey's name comes up somehow about something, and my dad's looking at the sports page, and my mother walks in the room. She's like, you're related to Joe Starkey. I said, what? She's like, yeah, we were just at a wedding in Chicago, and we ran into Joe, and we're related now through marriage. Somebody in his side of the family married somebody in our side of the family in some monster wedding reception in Chicago. And my parents saw Joe there, and they got to talking, and sure enough, we're now related through marriage.
Was it like one of those things like in like
What a bonanza!
Game of Thrones or something where they're like, all right, we have to unite these two great houses of sports Bay Area broadcasters.
Exactly.
To ensure the bloodline.
No, but I remember I said, "What? Really?" So I went up to Joe and I told him, and he's like, "Yeah, sure
hey, Uncle."
Hey, Uncle Joe, what a bonanza!
We're related because somebody in our family married somebody. Somebody in my family married somebody.
Larry, you're elated?
We're not elated, but we are related.
Hey, I am elated.
Maybe that's the Giants' game plan. Don't actually get Aaron Judge, but get somebody related. To Aaron
that
Judge.
Actually, imagine if they did like they went full like medieval times and they like, let's say Larry Bear's daughter, he married off Larry Bear's daughter to like Joe Judge or to Aaron Judge's brother or something, just some sort of familial relation that would ensure the deal.
Hey, speaking of elated,
an exchange of a goat or something. Jaguayo 56 says, "Here's $2. Is USC going to be serious national title contenders
this year? They'll make the playoffs, but they'll lose in the first round. They'll play Georgia.
I feel like about SC is you can run on them.
They'll get beat by Georgia. Badly.
Their quarterback is spectacular. He's going to win the Heisman.
They're going to lose to Utah.
Yeah.
They're going to lose to Utah,
and blow it for the Pac-12 again. I mean, the Pac-12 ought to just like do something to Utah the night before. And
Utah's not going to get any calls in that game. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Utah, they ought to food poison those guys or something just because the Pac-10 hasn't. When was the last time they had anybody in the playoff? They haven't had anybody in the new playoff format. But
since Oregon, no, I think Washington made it in. Yeah,
not in the new playoff. They weren't in the top 4. I think they made it into the.
Somebody
BCS.
asked me earlier today, how many teams are actually alive for the Super Bowl, and I'm so pessimistic about things. I'm not as optimistic as, even though we're what, 11 games in, 12 games in. We're heading to week 13 in the NFL. It's like there's still mathematical openings, but I don't have. What do you guys have as far as the total number of Super Bowl teams?
Like 7 or 8.
Let me count it here. I got to look at the standings, and I'll give you that right now.
I'd say 9. I'd say Niners, Eagles, Cowboys, Bills, Chiefs, Dolphins, Bengals, and Ravens.
Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You got 10. Okay, let me go through it. I've got 1. Just 1. No, I have 1. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess I would go 6. I would go Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Dallas.
I've actually got
49ers.
6 in the AFC.
Really? You include the Titans?
Miami, Buffalo, Baltimore, Tennessee, and KC. Is that 5? Wait,
I don't
1,
think
2,
Tennessee.
3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I've got Tennessee in there just because when you get into the playoffs, if they can get ball control with Derrick Henry, and if Treylon Burks and Tannehill start connecting, and you get ahead.
They could pull an upset, but I don't think they could go to the Super Bowl.
Like if you said this, if like last year you could talk me into it because they were the 1 seed and they got the bye, and like, they could pull 2 upsets and make it.
I just think anything's possible in the playoffs. Are you saying that it has a shot or has a realistic, like real realistic shot?
Like it could happen.
If you said how many teams do you actually think can win the Super Bowl? I really think it's Niners and Eagles and probably Dallas and Kansas City and Buffalo and Baltimore.
I knocked it down to 8.
And then, Baltimore, I'm starting to wonder about Baltimore. We didn't talk about that yesterday, But that's another takeaway from this weekend. It's like, what the heck's going on with the Baltimore Ravens? The Baltimore Ravens lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, it's and Lamar's
it wasn't really even a trap game because they got the
Lamar
Broncos
about
next
what
week.
he's tweeting, and it's like, what, really?
Yeah,
their leading receiver was Josh Oliver, the former San Jose State Spartan tight end. I don't know. It's kind of, the Ravens are weird. I mean, now they're leaning on Josh Oliver and Deshaun Jackson and Devin Duvernay at receiver, and they wasn't that long ago, they had Hollywood Brown and Rashad Bateman, and now all of a sudden things have kind of fallen apart for them, at least receiver wise.
I mean,
hey, I was reading something on the with Elijah Mitchell going on the injured reserve. Somebody put out there a little while ago that this is kind of tipped the 49ers hand what they do, because sounds like they're only going to be able to bring one of three back, either Mitchell, Kinlaw, or Trey Lance.
They're not bringing Trey.
That was listed. Now here's the thing.
Say that again, Danny. I had a thing playing in the background there.
Yeah, they can only bring back one of three from the IR as who's currently on the IR, with Mitchell going on to lead the beat. Mitchell, Kinlaw, or Trey Lance. Now I say it's going to be dictated by how Jordan Mason performs, or Tevin Coleman, or TD Price. If they perform super well and they don't miss a beat, I don't think Mitchell would be the guy unless Kinlaw's not able to come back. If Kinlaw's able to come back, I think they're going to need a run stuffer for the playoffs. But here's the key. Here's the thing.
Don't forget about Armstead.
Armstead's already coming back. So he's coming back this week, most likely. So they're not counting, because I think they can only bring 8 off of it, and they've already used 6. So Armstead is 7, I believe, coming off.
I debated this with Grant Cohn earlier today, and he actually thinks Lance could come back. I think
I do too, and here's the reason why. Only reason why. If Jimmy gets hurt late in the season, if Jimmy goes down and Lance is super healthy and he's like 100%, I think they'll go with in the playoffs. They would go with Trey if he's ready, and Jimmy.
But they're gonna have to make that decision before then. You mean?
I think they have to make the decision toward the end of the year whenever. I don't know when the deadline is, but I believe it'll be predicated on the need.
Yeah,
the biggest need.
I mean, that makes sense. Only thing is, they've made the point that they don't want to bring Trey back this year, and also then I gotta seriously ask the question whether Trey Lance, who was so raw that they needed to run him up the gut continuously after not practicing, going through a major surgery, just kind of rehabilitating, building up the strength in his body at the same time as learning what he can through these meetings. Is he going to be more ready to play than Brock Purdy, who's been going to camp and making the passes and, going to practice and, practicing every day and making the throws and being in lockstep with the receivers? I think it's very much more likely that if Garoppolo went down, and it was that you had a long stretch, let's say he went down in a week or two, then I could see them activating Trey at the end of the year. But if Garoppolo, let's just say, stays healthy, I think they'll stay with Purdy. I really do. I think they need Kinlaw and they need Mitchell.
Even if Jimmy gets hurt at the end of the year, I'm sorry.
That'd be a tough spot to throw Trey into.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
don't know.
The possibility of not just ruining him physically, but also mentally. Like if he's out there not 100%.
They won't touch him. They won't bring him back if he's not 100%.
The playoffs?
He'd have to be 100%.
But even if he's at 100%, he has not been practicing with the team. He's not going through any of the reps. Doesn't the going through the process and the practice mean something? I know it does. So I'll say I think they'd go with Purdy. I think they should, go with Purdy.
It'd be like last year in the finals, like if like let's say the Western Conference Finals, if like Looney got hurt, and then all of a sudden we're like, well, you know what? They could bring Wiseman back for the finals. It's like, yeah, they probably could.
Yeah,
and it probably would have been a disaster.
Yeah,
I mean, I know it's the the fan thing to talk about and be like, oh yeah, have Trey come back and this whole so you can have this beautiful little talk show soap opera.
Yeah, remember I was like, what? I'm struggling to find the debate topic, and now I think people are like forcing this Trey Lance debate topic so that they can debate Lance v. Jimmy. I mean, that was just the best topic. That was going to be an electric topic.
But I mean, come on. I mean, that's not happening. And Grant, of course, he was like wants to keep that rolling. And I was saying, well, wasn't even thinking Mitchell. I was thinking Kinlaw. Because, I mean, the bottom line is the 49ers have the number one defense, and I think they're dead last on third down run plays up the gut. I mean, they don't stop them at all. So, I mean, the game plan against the Niners is easy. It's like get to third and short and run it up the middle. I mean, they don't really stop people that way. That's the way to keep their defense on the field.
And Kinlaw would be the guy if he can do that.
I mean, I like Ridgeway.
Yeah,
but he's not.
Aren't they? The Niners are like number one in run D even without Armstead. So like,
yeah, I mean that's the thing. If they could get Armstead, my question would be: I think the debate thing with the Niners that's interesting is this: is Eric Armstead, because they're talking about Eric Armstead coming back for Miami. Doesn't he have the kind of injury that's plantar fasciitis? Isn't that it gets better. It gets, it's kind of, don't you have that surgically repaired? Doesn't he? My point is, I think he's got like 2 or 3 games that he could probably play on it. And my question would be, do you want it to be week 13, 14, and 15? Or would you rather wait and have it be in the playoffs? And I would say, and I'd roll until they lose with what they got and then try to save them for the playoffs.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
They're talking about using them this week.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I would think
I
would hope their medical staff is aware of that and knows what can happen and what the long-term trajectory looks like, whether he's going to be available. Because if they're going to do that and they say, well, he's only good for 2 to 4 games, I mean, that would be crazy to put him out there now.
But I mean, isn't that the kind of injury that is?
I know he had that. Plus, he had a small fracture in his other foot that was not the plantar fasciitis.
I think it's going to be similar to like the Kinlaw thing, except for more short term. Whereas, like, I think it's going to be a part of his thing for the rest of the season. So, like, it's sort of like Kinlaw, where it's like, I don't know. Maybe you don't want him to just have to be all of a sudden thrown into a game. Maybe you want him to get some reps first, but
I think they're going to manage that. I mean, they got to know what they're doing. They're not going to put him out there to, if he's not capable of being 100%, there's no need to put him out there right now this week if he's not 100%.
Let's bring in Jordan Elliott, who joins us, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Jordan, good to see you, man.
Looking good.
There we go. Can we get you? How's your mic?
Oh, can you hear me okay? Sorry.
Yeah, we got you. We got you. So, Dan was just having an emotional breakdown. No, we were actually talking a little bit about the Niner D line. I'm talking about Armstead's injury as plantar fasciitis, probably a recurring thing. Maybe he's got like a 3 to 4 game window. Maybe, I don't know. That's what would make sense to me. But what do you think? I mean, they're talking about bringing him back against the Dolphins. I'm saying I think I would hold him out and go with what I got until I either lost a game or I got to the playoffs, because I just feel like if I got him for 3 or 4 games, I'd rather it be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm in line with that thinking, but I'd also kind of like to get him ramped up before the playoffs. So I'm with you and maybe delaying the timetable a bit, but I'd push it towards that Raiders game. If they're not certain, like if they feel good that he can come back right now medically and he'll hold up, then yeah, you bring him back. But if there is that concern, then yeah, I'd much rather push it to like week 17, I think is in Vegas, than week 18's at home against Arizona. Get him some snaps in those games so he's at game speed rather than just throwing him out on wild card weekend. But It's really tough because they've treaded water without him very admirably. They're the number one defense in the NFL, but he is so invaluable to what they do. He's such a pivotal piece of that defense that they stand to, like they're a very good unit now. That could be the difference of them going on a Super Bowl run or not. That's how important Eric Armstead is to that defense, especially when you start playing teams like Dallas and Philly who are going to look to run the ball a lot in the playoffs. So I'm with you. I just think that there would need to be a slight ramp up towards the end of the regular season if you're going to hold off on, planning on bringing it back for the playoffs.
The big talk around the Niners today, Janoris Jenkins was signed to be, to add to the mix at corner. Veteran corner, started with the Rams, been all around the block, New York Giants, Saints, bunch of teams. What did you think of the pickup?
I liked it a lot. I was talking to Kyle Posey about it earlier. Actually, we were texting, and I was like, I can't blame him. It feels like he was in a position where he realized that he was one bad turn on an ankle or one misstep away for having an injury and having a corner they might not trust have to slide in where, Lenore and Ward and Womack have been playing very well. And I think they were not very confident in the depth, which is why they made a move like that. And I think it does speak volumes that you get a guy who they can trust, they can leave on an island in man coverage against a veteran wide receiver and who has that savvy ability. And while he may not be at the height of his speed prowess that earned him the Jackrabbit nickname, I think that he is still somebody that can run downfield. And again, you can never have too many veteran guys on a defense that good. I think it's, everybody knocks Josh Norman for what happened last year. And I know he's the butt of a lot of jokes, but he also made a lot of really good plays for them. And when you have 10 strong pieces around you, sometimes, in my opinion, just having that guy who's been there and done that and knows his role, and you can trust to not blow a coverage and you can trust to not bite on a double move or something like that veteran presence would go a long way, considering how young the DB room is beyond, Mooney Ward at the top there.
So what does this say about Ambry Thomas?
I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a ton of trust there. And again, that's not something they would ever admit or you'd ever hear them say. And I wouldn't blame them for not doing so. But, I'm a big believer in action speaking louder than words. And I just actions of what we've seen on the field and the action to a player like that speaks that there's probably not a ton of confidence there, Dan, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
How about running? Oh, go ahead, Danny.
Oh, I was just saying, to fall that far from, Grace kind of started off cold last year and then comes on strong and starts in the playoffs. And then this year, it just looks like what happened. You think you would improve in year two. Complete opposite.
Yeah. Eric Hernandez says can't be worse than Josh Norman. I would say Janoris Jenkins is quite a bit better than Josh Norman. I think that was a really nice pickup by the 49ers. What did you make of the talk coming out of Miami as far as Mostert and Jeff Wilson kind of denigrating Garoppolo? So that's really coming from Mostert, who may have some bad feelings. But, I'll say this. I know Miami's feeling good and you say things sometimes, but in these middle of the season games, you may get a team's A game. You may get their B game. You may get their C game. You may get their F game. When you talk trash, it guarantees in a sport like football, I think, that you get another team's A game. So, I think that's going to be the impact. Sometimes we can easily blow these things off and go, come on. If you got to talk somebody up to be motivated, then where they really need, are they really that, whatever, because they had to be talked into being motivated. But in this situation, I think, players talk sometimes resonates. I would not be surprised if the Niners came out on an emotional sky high for the Dolphins. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if you think about, the course of an NFL season, right? These guys are in practices, they're in meetings, they're traveling, they're doing all this stuff. And as much as you're, I agree, Larry, you'd like to think they get up for every game. That's just human nature. It's not going to happen like that. There's going to be moments where you're just doing the same old thing and it's so much repetition. And I think a lot of times comments like that, you get a team where they are a little bit more locked in when they're doing film study throughout the week. They are a little bit more locked in when the game planning is going on. And that honestly could end up being the difference in a game with two talented teams like that. I thought that the wording of his quotes was a little misleading, and I thought it was very hey, come check this article and read the rest of it because it obviously garnered a lot of attention. I don't think that Mostert meant any ill will towards Garoppolo as much as he was just kind of propping up his current quarterback. But I do think that the timing is where I don't like. If this was something that happened in the offseason, it'd be like, oh, whatever, like there's maybe hard feelings or something, you move on. But the fact that he said it like a week and change before these two teams are going to play, that's to me where I'm like, all right, you have to have a little bit more self-awareness. You went up against this defense in practice for years. You should know that giving them any extra ammunition is the last thing you should want, even if your offense is as talented as Miami's is. So I think the timing of everything, Larry, is really where I was kind of like, you got to know better and just not give extra fodder to the other team to, want to get up for this game.
One of the things that stood out again, watching the Niners in this last game, and I want your thoughts on the victory, but the Niner linebackers are just exude this dominance right now between the way Fred Warner's playing and then Greenlaw. And it just carries right into Aziz. I mean, Aziz you see that same dominance, physical dominance. They're fast. They fly around. They make plays. They give this defense a total swagger. And Danny and I were talking earlier today, and he had a list of like where guys were ranked for the Pro Bowl. And it's like, there's guys that, Juice and guys like that are, of course, ranked number one at their position. But then guys like Greenlaw are just nowhere to be found among the linebackers. They're just not among the top. And I'm just kind of wondering.
Warner was 9th.
Yeah, Warner was 9th, and you said Greenlaw wasn't even on the list, right?
No, he didn't even show up. No.
I mean,
whose list
how does
is that
happen?
It's the Pro Bowl. It's the top. You can vote on it right now on NFL. In fact, Warner put out a tweet actually asking for votes. He was kind of like, I think he's a little kind of disappointed, like, oh, I'm 9th.
So it's funny because Larry and I were talking about this on the way home. Like, isn't it funny how like the Cowboys, like because they get so much coverage, like obviously the Niners get a lot of coverage too, but the Cowboys, it's like all of a sudden Leighton Vander Esch has one good game on like, Monday Night Football as a rookie. And all of a sudden everyone, across all of football knows his name and talks about him like he's this great linebacker. But then like the Niners have all these dudes that are just kind of like Greenlaw. Like, if a Greenlaw was on the Dallas Cowboys, he would be a really big deal. Or like a Samson Ebukam.
Oh, I mean, Jerry's really favorite player. He went to Arkansas. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So it's just, I mean, whatever. It's good for the Niners. It means they, don't have to pay him as much and they can kind of hide out.
What do you make of that, Jordan? I mean, guy like Greenlaw. I mean, to me, Dre Greenlaw is just absolutely dominating. I mean, he flies around, he makes hits, he's just. I mean, he's made some bad penalties this year, but otherwise, he's just a totally dominating player who seems like he's routinely coming up with the most physical hit.
So I think there's a fundamental flaw with not only Pro Bowl voting, but all pro voting. And the unfortunate part of what I'm going to say is that I don't really know what the solution is, but I definitely know what the problem is. I think the problem is like a lot of what Ryan just hit on too. Like it's about coverage. It's about name recognition. It's about branding and stuff. And then like the other thing is for like the media votes for like pro or all pros and stuff like that. The example I always point to is like last year, Robert Quinn made all pro over Nick Bosa. And, Robert Quinn had 18.5 sacks. So if you're a media member covering another team, you don't cover the Bears, you don't watch the Bears, like, oh, wow, 18.5 sacks. Like, phenomenal season. This guy's got to be an all pro. He had half the amount of pressures that Max Crosby, less than half actually, than Crosby and Nick Bosa had. Crosby ends up making it. Bosa doesn't. And a lot of 49ers fans are like pitting Crosby and Bosa against each other. And I'm like, no, those two both deserve it. No offense to Robert Quinn. He had 18.5 sacks, but he did it on like 45 pressures. Whereas Bosa, I think, finished with like 15.5 sacks, but he had like 97. And I think Crosby had like 110 or something. So to me, the biggest problem is that the power of this voting is placed in the hands of people who just quite frankly don't have the time to watch every rep of every team. And like, I can sit here and give a million different reasons why Fred Warner is the best linebacker in football. And the majority of the examples I'm going to use are plays that won't show up in the stat sheet. And it'd be plays where he's carrying another team's number. He's carrying Chris Olave up the seam out of the slot, who's one of the best receivers in football. And you're leaving a linebacker on an island with him. But it doesn't quantify in a way in a stat sheet where somebody who covers the Jaguars or covers the Steelers, when the voting comes around, can see what they'll see as tackles for loss, or they'll see total tackles or interceptions and passes deflected. So I think the fundamental issue is that so many of the things that make Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner and these players so special will never resonate in a stat sheet in a way that somebody who isn't able to consume every single snap of theirs the way we are can fully appreciate. And I just don't know a way around that without somebody having 80 hours a week to watch every game and, break down every play. It's just unrealistic.
Let's get right to the point. The 49ers, the people who want to be, a lot of people would look at this win and say, man, I'm a glass half full guy. This should have been a look ahead game for the Niners with the Dolphins and Bucks and Saints and Seahawks all looming. And they were on the short week. They're coming out of a trip to Colorado Springs and Mexico City. They're coming off a win. They got a Saints team that was relatively desperate, and this easily could have been a trap game. But instead, the Niners get a 13-0 win. But if you're still unhappy, there's people going, well, wait a second. This team's got Garoppolo, who's supposedly playing great, and they've got Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk, and Juwan Jennings just had a great game. And you got Debo and you got Kittle and you got Kyle. And why are they only scoring 13 points at home against the Saints? The 0, you're like, wow, great. Defense is rocking and rolling, pitching a shutout. 13 points from the offense. Are you disappointed in the offense? Is there a problem with the offense? What would you say to those who say there is?
So first of all, they look a lot better in the red zone against Arizona, right? So that's been the biggest concern, is that they've been moving the ball great between the 20s, and then they have problems in the red zone. And I actually wrote something about it for Niners Nation last week, because when I dove into the game and I was doing my preview, one of the things that I took away that was my main takeaway was the Saints had a top 5 red zone defense. They allowed teams score only on 48% of their red zone trips coming in. So it wasn't like this was some pushover team that, has terrible statistics and a bad track record in the red zone. They've been very stout inside their own 20. So I'm kind of coming away from this game like how much of this is a failure to execute versus how much of it is they just came up against a really good opponent who's very strong in that particular area of the game. I do think the short week played a ton into more so for the big guys. I think the acclimation and going to altitude and coming back. I have family in Colorado I go see a couple times a year. My brother lives out there. I don't play professional football, and I'm not that level of athlete. I won't pretend to be, but I'm not going to lie. For me personally, it takes a couple days to reacclimate, and I can imagine playing 60 minutes at that level of intensity the way they did in Mexico City on a short week. I think there was a little bit of a, lingering effect for those guys in the trenches, because the 49ers offensive line to me looked not necessarily like as bad as they've been all year. It looked different, and it looked like they weren't dominating in the pass protection area the way that
it was Aaron Banks' actually worst game. He actually allowed like 6 pressures or something like that, which has been rare this year for him. Mm-hmm. So, and he's a big guy, and it does, like you say, it takes a time to recover. I've been up in high altitude as well, and I was up in Pikes Peak and running years ago, and man, you're just exhausted just after like 5 minutes, just you're gasping for air. So to play a whole game in that, and then come back late, and then have Thanksgiving on top of that thrown in there, where you're probably eating a lot, drinking, you're just probably just after I eat turkey, I just want to take a nap. It's like those guys probably were just dog tired. And to come out with a win in the NFL, I'll take it. I don't care how you get it. I'll take it.
Yeah. And is the offense underachieving, though, guys? Would you say that, I would say, I do have a couple, issues with the offense from the standpoint of, I just feel like Shanahan is using, his a guy like McCaffrey, I think is just so spectacular as a playmaker. And you have Jordan Mason, who's a 240-pound wrecking ball, power back, and you're running McCaffrey between the tackles and on runs that look like they're designed to get 4 or 5 like, moving the chains kind of stuff. And I think I'd rather move the chains with Jordan Mason and, get McCaffrey isolated in space and not subject him to, 10 or 15 of those hits to his legs that he's taking running those short runs up the middle. What do you think of the utilization of McCaffrey? To me, it seems like he's a sports car that, Shanahan wants to off-road with. And I just think I'm not loving the way he's being used.
I think that it had the perfect balance going when it felt like they were able to utilize McCaffrey a lot as that weapon. They could kick out as a receiver. He could run routes out of the backfield. He looked really good running those outside zone, play calls. And then you had Mitchell who could really, bang between the tackles, had a great feel on some of those gap scheme runs. So like with Mitchell out of the picture again for 6 to 8 weeks, I don't really know how they go forward without having to utilize McCaffrey a little bit more between the tackles, just based on the skill level he brings. And I think that like I'm a big Jordan Mason guy. I thought he looked like the best running back on the field during training camp, and he did that as an undrafted rookie in his first NFL camp. So I'm all for giving him more touches, but I also can't fault wanting to get to a certain, if you want to get McCaffrey the ball 15 times in a game, 16 times in a game, whatever the number is, because he is that sports car you mentioned, and because he has that ability to, if he's able to press one gap and find a little bit of daylight, he has that home run ability. And I don't think there's another back right now on the team that's healthy that does. Maybe TDP had some great 10-yard split numbers coming out. We just haven't seen it yet at this level. So like, I think the loss of Mitchell really complicates things, Larry, because if he was doing that with Mitchell healthy and with Mitchell at 100% availability, then I would have a much bigger issue with it. But him being out of the picture, I think, is what really makes it difficult to adjust his usage in a way that takes a ton of carries out of the picture.
Let me ask you, Jordan, would you...
Melvin Gordon went to KC, by the way.
Melvin Gordon. He did. I was just going to ask you if he'd signed Melvin Gordon. Wow, he went to KC. Okay.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon went to KC. And I would have taken a look at him. I think they're probably going to have to look at some running back, right? I mean, I don't know. Just the one guy that
Tevin Coleman will be up, I'm sure.
Yeah, they'll promote Tevin Coleman off the practice squad, and they'll probably replace him on the practice squad with a different back. Yeah. But, Coleman's an interesting guy. Shanahan has a lot of confidence in Coleman. Heck, they threw him downfield passes in the game, in one of his first games. But it'll be interesting to see if they do pick up another back. The people that are being critical of the 49ers for trading Jeff Wilson and moving on from Raheem Mostert now that they need another back, the Mostert thing, obviously they chose to go in a different direction. He wanted a lot more money at the time. The Wilson trade, I mean, I get it. It's not necessarily, people just want to treat everybody like, okay, just, now there's McCaffrey, make it all work. But there's only so many carries, and Wilson expressed a desire to move on. And then they found a team willing to give them a 5th round pick, and look at the success they've had drafting in the 5th round. So I can't question the Wilson move, and I really don't question the Mostert move either. I think they got some great career production out of Mostert, but to me, I don't fault them for letting him move on. They've struggled to get to the edges without Mostert in this offense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and I guess the running game also has just kind of evolved. I don't know. I mean, it feels like Jordan Mason, because we all saw it in camp. He looks like a really good runner. It's just, I guess it's just a matter of like, does he know the pass protections? Does Kyle trust him in the offense? I mean, there was that one play with
there was that one huge.
Yeah, there was that one play with Purdy. I don't know if that was on Purdy, if it was on Mason.
Where, the end of the game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, where he handed the ball off and Mason was on the opposite side of the handoff. That was kind of weird. I'm not sure whether to put that on Mason or not, but yeah, I mean, I think it's just a good opportunity to see Mason. And it is also another example of like, Mitchell's a good back, and he's especially good when he's maybe not carrying the entire load, but now has a full track record of, if you give that guy too much of a workload, he gets injured. So, maybe he'll be a luxury come playoffs.
What is this, his 3rd injury in 2 years?
Yeah. something like that.
What was his injury last year? Was it knee or ankle?
I think it was knee. It was the same thing, MCL sprain.
Okay.
And like a lot of he had some hammy stuff and
Yeah. MCL sprains. Yeah. I mean, I'm actually surprised that guys just make it through a game without having something that knocks
I mean, the
them out a week or
McCaffrey
two.
thing, if you were to ask me my biggest worry, it's just McCaffrey. I mean, what did they say in the injury report? Like knee
Irritation.
discomfort,
Irritation.
irritation. That doesn't
he
sound
walked
good.
right by us out of the locker room at the end of the night, and he wasn't limping.
Wasn't limping.
But you never know how things.
Seems like something that's gonna stick with. Like it doesn't seem like one of those things. Like it's he's got a tight quad. We're gonna work on it. He'll be fine in a couple weeks. That it seemed almost like this is gonna be maybe here with him for the rest of the year, and it's nothing too bad. But we got to keep an eye on it.
Well, the best thing the Niners can do is sweep this homestand this week and next week, and then go to Seattle and win. And if they do that,
I don't know, Dan. Another three more wins in a row. Are we talking peaking too early?
They're favored. They're favored.
No, I know.
They're favored in all three. So.
Let's just say this: I would book that parlay for you if you want to parlay those three teams together.
My point is the best thing they can do for the team is to
win games.
Win those next 3 games, and they'll practically have the division locked up because they'll have beaten Seattle twice.
True.
And there'll be a couple games ahead of Seattle minimum. So that means the Niners would have to lose 3 for the Seattle to catch them to win the division. So if they do that, if they put the focus on that heavy, they can afford to rest some of their guys going into weeks 17 and 18, spot guys, and get everybody healthy, because they're going to probably have to go the wild card. If they win the division, they're going to have to go the wild card round and win 3. Either way, only 1 gets the bye now, so they're going to have to win 3 in the playoffs. So you better go in as rested as possible, as healthy as possible, in my view. And I think they did that the year they won the Super Bowl. They led up and they lost to Atlanta, I believe. Not won the Super Bowl, but went to the Super Bowl. They lost to Atlanta at home, and it forced them to go into that game against Seattle with so much pressure to win it.
Wait, when was this? Are we talking 2012?
2019.
2019, I thought they had the bye.
They did, but they had to beat Seattle the last game of the year to win the division. Had they beaten Atlanta, they got upset because they just kind of let.
That was the Greenlaw tackle.
Yeah, mm-hmm. So you got to go in and take care of business. So you don't want to look too far ahead, but you got to also look ahead, is what I'm saying, because if they win the next 3 games, they can afford to let guys sit.
Well, I mean, this is the toughest part of their schedule for sure. Nick J weighs in, guys. This is kind of interesting. He says Niners should monitor the Steelers practice squad. Anthony McFarland's a good back. He was on the practice squad. They activated him for tonight's game. If he goes back on the practice squad, the Niners should pluck him. I actually agree. I think McFarland, I loved him at Maryland. He's really, really fast. And, the one thing Shanahan always loves in a back is speed. He loves speed in the back.
Oh, he played tonight, didn't he?
He did play tonight.
But he's probably not going to be on the practice squad again because it looks like Najee might be out.
Yeah, exactly. He probably is not. McFarland probably. But as far as the practice squad, just period as a spot, what do you think? Are we, the run game, what's your biggest concern, Jordan, if you had to say for the 49ers coming out of this win? They're playing good ball. Garoppolo seems to be playing good ball. They got a lot of weapons. They got the number 1 D. But what do you think? Outside of just general injuries being an answer, what's the number 1 concern?
I would just say, getting away from their identity a bit. I think that they've been, forced to throw maybe a bit more than Japan wants to. If I remember correctly, watching that game, midway through the third quarter, Garoppolo was already in the mid-30s for attempts. And I know it's because they had injuries to the backs, and it's kind of just the way the game flow was unfolding. But I do think that losing Elijah Mitchell and being maybe a little bit more hesitant with McCaffrey, and only having, rookie backs to kind of lean on might lead them to be a little bit more reliant on that quick game and generating some of that short area, move the chain yardage through the air, through the screen game, rather than doing so on the ground and kind of playing that bully ball. It seemed like they were kind of rounding into form with. And, I know you said don't count the injuries, Larry, but honestly, like that's the biggest thing to me, because I think when this team's healthy, they're just so hard to beat. And, I know he had a hamstring. I think it was a hamstring he was dealing with on Sunday, but I also think that they've been very meticulous with the usage of Deebo Samuel in the backfield, so that when late December, early January comes around, they can just, I don't want to say run him into the ground, but they can start really ramping up those carries for him. So I have a little bit less concern once that time comes, because that's been my kind of theory on this whole season, is that that was something they talked about during negotiations, where it was like, hey, we're going to use you as a back, we're going to have a package for you, but we'll save that for the kind of stretch run and into the playoffs. We're not going to run you into the ground 3 weeks into the season, because I don't think they would have felt comfortable giving him the amount of money they gave him if that wasn't part of the plan. And we've seen that he hasn't had that usage thus far this year. So I just worry between now and then that they might drift a little bit too far away from their identity of kind of really punishing teams physically up front and running the ball 35, 40 times, even if it's at 3.8, 3.9 yards a carry. When you run the ball that much, it demoralizes an opponent. And when you have Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the ball 40 times a game, it allows an avenue to get away from this efficient Garoppolo we've seen. And then you start getting those throws like that interception that was called back, thankfully, and you start putting it into a position where that old Jimmy is always lurking, right? Like you always have that possibility of him regressing and going back to that guy who's throwing 3 or 4 turnover worthy balls in a game. So I just worry that they might be drifting too far away from what's made them so special the last few years.
Yeah, and I do see, like you mentioned, Jordan, with the rookies, with Mason and maybe Price. I actually believe that Tevin Coleman will get more carries. Will get the 3rd spot minimum over Price, and may even get bumped over Mason this week. I know Kyle really loves the vets, and he loves Tevin Coleman, and there was really no spot for him on the roster with Mitchell in there, and then before that, Jeff Wilson. So now that he's kind of down to just McCaffrey and 2 rookies, I think you're going to see Coleman.
Yeah, and ultimately, I don't think it even matters, like, with the running backs, like, for at least for the regular season. I mean, there's a reason why, like, all the Vegas people talk about, maybe the best position player in the league is worth, like, 1, maybe 1.5 points to a spread. Running backs are worth almost nothing. They'll be fine for the regular season. And as long as Mitchell, I think they went with more of a conservative timetable, because they're like, all right, we know we kind of found something here, mixing up Mitchell and McCaffrey, and then, we get Deebo going. So let's just hold off. We trust Mitchell. He can just pop in a game and be effective. So let's just hold him off till the playoffs.
Yeah, well, we did see how effective he was game 1 when he came back. So he'll be explosive. And MCL is not the end of the world. I mean,
he came back from it he played with it last year, I'm pretty sure, like for part of the games. But also back to what Jordan was saying about the passing so much, it also puts Jimmy out there, makes him susceptible to hits, and like, I don't know. I mean, was it worth it to get his ass kicked that hard? Like, passing all that. I mean, it still only resulted in 13 points.
What's going to happen, and I think this is probably why they threw a little bit more too, is the Saints were stacking more of the box, and so they're going to force the Niners to try and throw, and they're going to blitz Jimmy a lot, and try and go one-on-one. The 49ers, probably McCaffrey is their best guy for getting open on routes, because and Ayuk's got some pretty good moves, but Debo's not he's not a guy that really scares people one-on-one, I don't think, because he's not a guy that breaks free a lot, and so you can cover these Niner receivers one-on-one more so, and that's why McCaffrey is so important, because him coming out of the backfield, a linebacker cannot cover McCaffrey.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he's dynamic. That's why I'd like to see them try to minimize his hits between the tackles, because he is a dynamic weapon for them. I thought this was an incredible game for Jauan Jennings. And it just seems like without them actually saying anything, the Niners have kind of taken themselves out of the OBJ sweepstakes, it sounds like. And it's really because of the emergence of Jennings. And there, Mayoko and some of the other writers had, I think, an anecdote a few weeks ago, or at least a whisper that maybe the 49ers in some way were unhappy with what they were getting out of Jauan Jennings. But man, they can't be unhappy now. This guy he plucks the ball. He makes difficult catches. He's mixing in some run after the catch. He'll go after a 50-50 ball. He's got the trust of Garoppolo. He'll throw it in tight spots. Made a big play in the Dallas playoff game. Came back, made a big play in the Green Bay playoff game. He's kind of a third down monster at this point. Give me your thoughts, Jordan, on Jauan Jennings and what level he's gotten to, and kind of where he sits and how they're utilizing him, where he sits in the pecking order.
I love throwing out like those like superlative, like those descriptions for guys that don't really, there's not a quantifiable value, right? Like the ice water in his veins, like clutch when the game's on the line. Like I love talking about players like that, because to me that's really where the conversation starts with Jauan Jennings. I just think he's one of those guys where when the moment's big, heart rate start rising and palms start getting sweaty, he's cool as the other side of the pillow, right? Like he's that guy that you can rely on when the lights are the brightest and you need a big conversion on 3rd and 7. You need a ball to be caught in the red zone to convert. You need a big block to set the edge. Like he just is that guy when all the chips are on the table. To me, he's proven that he's as reliable, if not the most reliable skill position player on a group of players that looks like a Pro Bowl roster. And I think that speaks volumes to just who he is as a person and who he is as a football player. If I remember correctly, I think you said a few months ago when we were talking, like, if it was the Super Bowl and you needed a first down, you needed a big play, like that's the guy you would rely on.
Totally.
I think that's a completely valid argument. And I just think that time and time again, whether it's, him making a play downfield or winning in man coverage, or even when he gets the ball thrown short of the sticks and he's, he has 2-3 defenders hanging off him as he's crossing the, line to gain to move the chains. He's reliable and he is clutch. He has that it factor. He has the clutch, whatever word or description you want to use for it. Jauan Jennings has it.
Oh yeah. And plus when the coaches go back and watch the film, they're going to see what he's doing on run plays and just pancaking guys in the end zone, knocking guys. They're going to see that this guy wants to play. Coaches love that.
I always feel bad for him though, because I always have to take him out in Madden because he's just too slow. And it's just like you can't have that 84 overall speed. When
he's burying people though, as far as you saw that.
Goodness.
You guys saw that play in the end zone.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That was just a ridiculous.
Hey, I want to get back to this McCaffrey thing, because I think the Niners should make him more of a focal point in the sense of when they're in passing plays. I know there was one play where it was a goal line play, and I think might have been to Jennings. Jimmy, it was Reed to the right. He never looked to the left. If he had tried to look left, he would have got smashed. The rush came in on him. Maybe he was going to look left if he had time, but he didn't have time. But McCaffrey was wide open in the flat in the end zone. And I just don't think anybody can cover McCaffrey. And I would start throwing more to McCaffrey on those swings and setting up plays to make the defense adjust, which will open everything up for the other receivers. Because to me, I love the short game with Jimmy of Kittle and McCaffrey and Jennings. And even the slants. We're not seeing many slants right now like we did a year ago with, over the middle to Debo that they run. I just think the Niners, when they play the short game, it'll open up more for, passes down the field and the run game. And I just don't know and I know Kyle's probably going to utilize that at some point because he's a master at strategizing. And I don't think the way Kyle coaches, I don't think he coaches with just one game in mind. I think he's calling plays with weeks down the road in line as well.
Yeah,
And
I mean, all good coaches are looking down the road for sure. When you guys look around, like every week in the NFL, we get a little glimpse, right, of every team and how they're looking. Yeah, like I watched the Bills on Thanksgiving, and I thought, man, the Lions are having a lot of success against this Bills secondary. This Bills secondary doesn't look nearly as good, here in late November, early December as they did, at the beginning of the year. I don't. When you looked around week 12, guys, what was your takeaway as far as the Super Bowl contenders? Is there a team that really impresses you coming out of this week, or is there a team that you saw this week and you thought, man, maybe they're not quite as good as I thought? What'd you think of the week overall? Anybody want to jump in?
Well, I still think in the NFC, it's the Niners, Eagles, and Cowboys. And in the AFC, it's
Dan. How about in terms of this? Whose Super Bowl stock moved up the most this week for you, and who's moved down the most?
I would say Baltimore's moved down a little bit, and who moved up? Probably. Just watching the first half of the Eagles looked really good. I mean, they kind of fell apart in the second half. But first half, they were just, everything was clicking. So I think the Eagles, Cowboys are starting to impress me more. And in the AFC, I still think it's the Chiefs and Bills. And
I think this was an important week to kind of bookmark for the Bengals, because the Bengals have put on a nice little, everyone kind of got fooled a little bit, I think, including me, when there's that Monday night game with no Chase versus the Browns, and they just got stomped. And it was sort of like, oh man, they can't do it without Chase. But give them credit. They've been doing it without Chase, and this week they did it without Mixon. They beat a really, really good, really tough Titans team, and their schedule is about to get extremely difficult. So I could see them kind of stumbling down the end of the season. But I think that it's important to kind of bookmark, like, Joe Burrow still is that guy. I think that under the right circumstances, they could make a Super Bowl run. And then in terms of teams that are down, and I'd love to hear Jordan's perspective on this, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm with you. I'm a little addicted to them. Like, I'm a little addicted to saying that they're about to make their run. Like, I want to say it every week, but I mean, I don't know, man. That was like Tom Brady's first time in his career that he's ever lost a game when he was leading by 7 with under 2 minutes. He's now like 2-18-1. So
really,
I don't know.
2-18.
Yeah, and I know, Jordan, you said that you were kind of maybe most afraid of them possibly come January.
It may be very surface level and very, just played out at this point, but my whole mantra is just don't bet against Tom Brady. And
are you saying that so if Juwan Jennings was a team, if on third down, that would be like Tampa Bay basically?
It's just I've just seen Tom Brady time after time, year after year. Everybody's like, all right, this is it. This is the wall. It's time. He's done. And every single time it happens, just he's again one of those guys where he's in that rarefied air where he's when the moment's the brightest and you need that 2-minute drive, like that drive you put on against the Rams a couple of weeks ago. I just can't count them out. I definitely think that they're, talking about secondaries that don't look as good. They're in that group for me as well. And not having Shaq Barrett is huge, but they seem to me like a team. Like, NFC South is terrible. They could win that.
Shit.
They could be 8-9 and win that division. And while I don't think that they're a Super Bowl contender, they are the kind of team that I think could come in and pose problems for the contenders like the 49ers or the Eagles or the Cowboys. Because I'll be honest, one of my takeaways after this weekend was that, to me, I think it's going to be 49ers Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. I think that's ultimately how it's going to play out. It'll be those two teams at Levi's with a chance for the Super Bowl to, be on the line there. And the winner of that game is going to play KC. And to me, outside of those three teams, there's not anybody that's really moving me. Philadelphia is fantastic on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. I just think that I have questions about some of the ways that they're, I like Nick Sirianni and the job he's done, but I have some questions about when he does have to go up against a Mike McCarthy or a Kyle Shanahan or one of these battle-tested coaches in a playoff game. What happens when it is 4th and 2 and you roll Jalen Hurts out there and you get stuffed and then the other team gains momentum and goes right down the field? Like, some of these things that look great in the moment, I question if that aggressiveness and that you're going to have that same ability to play the kind of style of football that they're playing when January rolls around. So I think that the Eagles are a team that can't be overlooked. And I'm not saying I don't think that they're worthy of the praise they're getting. They just don't scare me as much as a potential Tampa Bay team that has Tom Brady getting hot, where they could be that team that's kind of, that wild card team that we seem to see in the NFL every single season that gets hot and, finds a way to win a couple games on the road. And I can't bet against them, Ryan. Tom Brady.
Maybe they'll be like the 7-9 Seahawks the year of the Beastquake, where it's like they're just like, super annoying win after just winning a dog shit division.
Glass half full guy says, after watching the 49ers, I'm completely unafraid to go on the road in the playoffs to Philly, etc. I kind of agree with that. I personally don't really see a team that you're like, oh God, you don't want to roll in there and play them. I mean, that would be a nightmare. I look at Philadelphia and I say, well, Green Bay AJ Dillon ran for 8 yards a carry. Green Bay ran for 5 yards a carry in that game. And then, the one thing about the Eagles is, they ran for, 50 times in this game for 363. But when was the last time Hurts threw for 250? I think Hurts, against certain zones, you can really not confuse him, but you can muddy up the picture enough to make him hesitant and pause. And I think their pass game can be defended. I'm really eager to see what the Niners look like going to Philly, because I expect we're going to see that at some point this year. But I'd feel confident going into Philly against them.
I kind of like what Jordan is saying, because I'm looking at the playoff situation. You kind of want Philly to win the division rather than Dallas, because this is how the playoffs would play out today. Philly would get the bye. Minnesota would host Washington. 49ers would host the Giants, and Tampa Bay would host Dallas. So the winner of that 4-5 game, Tampa Bay, assuming Minnesota beats Washington and the Niners, beat the Giants, the winner of the Tampa Bay Dallas would go play Philly. The highest seed would go play Philly. I think Dallas has the chance to knock off Philly, as Jordan was saying, which would then give the Giants the 49ers would go to Minnesota. And if they won that game and Dallas won, Niners would host the NFC Championship.
That's true.
So you kind of want Philly to, I think, win the division, because if Dallas wins the division, I think it would be tougher playing again in Dallas. I mean, I know they did it last year.
You think Dallas is a tough place to play?
No, I think Philly's.
I'd rather play Dallas in Dallas than play Philly in Philly.
Yeah, Philly. I just think the Niners can beat.
I think the Niners can win either of those games as well.
I do too. Yeah, but I don't know. I think Dallas is an easier place to play, but I think Philly's easier to beat. If that makes sense.
I don't know about that. I think Dallas has some real. I think Dallas beats themselves. I think Dallas, commits penalties and I don't know. I think the Niners. Well, here's the thing about it. I think the 49ers actually, if Elijah Mitchell's healthy, and now obviously that's a big question, I think the 49ers potentially with McCaffrey and Mitchell could run the ball effectively on Philly or Dallas. So
Yeah.
That's why I feel good about the Niners going to the Super Bowl out of the NFC. I guess for me, the team this weekend, there's a couple teams I feel worse about. One would be Baltimore. I mean, I don't know what to say. What would you guys say about the Ravens right now?
I think you were right on earlier when you were saying, like, this time of the year, you don't know what you're going to get. You could get their C game, their B game, their A game. They just didn't necessarily show up this week. And this Jacksonville team's probably the most talented team in their division. They just, they're a little all over the place, and Lawrence put it together, and they pulled it out when,
So they to me, Baltimore was disappointing. I thought Tennessee was disappointing. I mean, Tennessee can't beat Cincinnati at home. I'm kind of
Bengals are
wondering
good.
if Tennessee's a real Super Bowl contender,
Yeah.
or if they're just a nice team on the line of scrimmage.
Hey guys, Jordan's got to jump.
Yeah.
What do you say we maybe roll the commercials a little early and then come back from the break and talk a little like Judge, a little Warriors?
Yeah, it sounds good. Hey, Jordan, thanks for joining us, man, and give us your final thought on the Niners win this weekend and what you expect we may see next week against Miami.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, a win is a win. I think Dan said that earlier, and I'm right there with him. They all count the same. This isn't college football. There's no committee to impress. There's no computer program, whatever they did with the BCS, where you had to run up the score to, get in. That doesn't exist in the NFL. And I think one of the greatest things about this sport at this level is the parity you get week in and week out, and how no 2 weeks are the same, and how nothing on paper ever shakes out the way it should because of how much parity exists. And anybody, if you want to check it out, this isn't just hindsight. I wrote a little article about it for my game preview last Friday about how I did not feel comfortable about the Niners covered the 9.5 points, but I'm like, man, that 9.5 it seems like a huge number. The Saints team is a hell of a lot better than that line would indicate. And I thought that they were going to be better with the guys they were getting back from injury. And I think that you look at it on paper and you're like, oh, 9.5 points favorites. The team's 4-7 coming in. They should steamroll them. And I just think that Saints team is much better than the record and the line would have indicated. So I came out of it kind of feeling like, yeah, it would have been nice to see the offense perform a little bit better. But at the same time, after they just put up 38 in Mexico City, it's nice to see that they are able to win a game where they have to gut it out defensively and they need to get a stop in the red zone, and they're just showing a multitude of ways to pull out wins. And a lot of people weren't moved because it was Andy Dalton and because Taysom Hill's getting snaps and they think the Saints are this gimmicky team. They were a top 10 offense coming into that game. They have legit players like Chris Olave is going to be a top 10 receiver if he's not one already. They have a very solid offense, and the Niners shut them out, and it was the first time they'd been shut out in 20 years. So to me, I came out of that game just feeling like in a vacuum, a win's a win. If they put up 13 points for the next 3 weeks, absolutely, that's something to be concerned about going forward. But I think so much of the problem that I myself try to get better with, and I don't know if you guys have the same issue, is we get so wrapped up talking about one game that we lose sight of the larger 17-game sample size. And to me, I'd be much more focused on the fact that the Niners held their opponent to 0 rather than they only put up 13. The thing I keep coming back to, I've said on Twitter a couple of times, if you win by 1 or you win by 30, they all count the same. So the fact that they were able to avoid the trap game, like you mentioned there, because this very easily could have been a game where we're sitting here talking about, like, how did the 49ers end up losing 17-13 or whatever to the Saints? Like, how did they end up dropping this game that complicates the playoff picture going forward? Instead, they found a way to win. And now they have, the ability to get up for a game where they're getting extra motivation against a team that they're very familiar with, against a coach they're very familiar with, against Miami this week.
Absolutely. And Kyle actually mentioned, they mentioned it on the broadcast. I know you guys were at the game, so you probably didn't hear it, but he was saying that if he had his choice to choose the bye week, it would have been after the Arizona game, just because of that being a trap game.
Hey, Jordan, good stuff, man. Anybody, if we're reading Niners Nation this week, what's the new target?
So I'm absolutely going to do something about Fred Warner. Some of the stuff he did, I didn't get a chance to finish it before I went into work today. But like I said, they're leaving him on an island with Chris Olave. He's rushing the quarterback in this cover 1 6-man pressure. He's fitting run gaps. I apologize to the older football fans that saw the great linebackers, the Jack Lamberts and the Dick Butkus's and the Ray Lewis's and all that. I've never seen a linebacker do what's asked of Fred Warner. I think a lot of that has to do with the way the NFL has evolved. This guy is one of one, and he is essentially the gold standard of where this position is going in the modern evolution of the NFL. So I think I'm going to have that done tonight for tomorrow, just some clips from the game that kind of show how great he is all around. And I also wanted to do something on Samson Ebukam because I thought him coming back was huge too. I thought his absence was very underrated because they had been very successful in the time he was out. But he had a couple of really nice reps in that game yesterday, and he's another guy where that pass rush gets unlocked and taken to a new level. So I'm definitely going to focus on those guys, and I might do something about Jordan Mason before the end of the week too, because I'm with you. I think he's going to factor into the plans going forward. His special teams ability is going to keep him dressed on game days regardless. So I think Dan said it. I definitely think that there's a path to him, McCaffrey, and Coleman being the guys dressed on game day. So those are kind of the three things I have on my my planning board this week. But definitely Fred Warner. If you want to see some specific Fred Warner stuff about why I think he is one of one when it comes to that position in the history of the sport, I definitely will have something for you.
Nothing would make me happier than to watch Jordan Mason just have a couple of real violent between the tackles, like 55-yard runs against the Dolphins, and just kind of put himself on the map as a real threat, somebody who has to be accounted for in this offense. He runs hard, he's powerful, he's strong, he's fresh. It might be his time. Jordan, good stuff, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, fellas. Have a good rest of your night.
You too.
Jordan Elliott.
Yeah. One thing about what you're saying there about Jordan Mason, one thing I noticed, and you saw him at camp, I didn't see him much, but just a little playing time he's gotten.
Yeah.
He hits that hole quickly and explodes. He doesn't just play around like Le'Veon Bell used to. Jordan.
There's no dancing. There's no dancing at the line.
Boom. He just like bang, boom.
He hits it and he goes. All right, let's do this. Let's pay our bills. We'll be back with them in a minute with a couple more thoughts. We'll talk a little baseball coming up.
Wait, let's tease this real quick.
Ooh, a little tease
before the break.
Showing a leg.
On. No,
please.
Where'd it go?
Faith, Buster.
Tease.
You're gonna have some wife make chicken wings.
We're gonna tease this. We're gonna talk about this when we come back. We want to know, Eric, who your sources are, and put a little more comments in the chat if this is a joke or if this is a legitimate breaking news that you've heard. Breaking news on Aaron Judge to the Giants coming up next on the Krueg Show. How about that?
Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 7 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, you know, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never gonna deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it, guaranteed.
All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show. Actually, one more. Connecticut. All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show. Larry Kruger, Dan Coach Emilio, Ryan Smith after Monday night football, and it was scintillating tonight.
What were you elated? Which one of you two was elated tonight after
17? Rye beat me in fantasy, I believe.
So are you elated, Rye?
Oh, I forgot
Michael
about that.
Pittman had a big night. Let me see. Let me double check that actually. But I'm pretty sure Pittman made a couple big catches in the end.
Yeah.
He was really stat padded.
And Rye beat me 114.16 to 106.68. Wow.
Hey, you know, another
but I did
game
win
was
in
going on
wagering. I
tonight.
took the Steelers tonight. Again, what a weird game. Steelers come out, they're up 16-3 at halftime, and then Jonathan Taylor 2-yard score, and then Pittman with a touchdown, and boom, the Colts were right back in it. 14-point third quarter, but Benny Snell scores a fourth quarter touchdown, and Pickett found Pickens on a 2-point conversion. 24-17. Steelers with the win. Steelers with the cover.
And sometimes the best trades that you make are the ones you don't make. I tried to get rid of Jonathan Taylor for weeks, and
That's
tonight
true.
he's
I tried
the
to
last
get him
couple
for
weeks. he's pulling it off, and now with the hire of Jeff Saturday, there's some and Taylor's being healthy is probably the biggest thing. But
Matt Ryan's old though, man.
Yeah,
That's the
he's
thing.
so-
They blow
He's
the
awful.
Colts. I mean, Frank Reich was a good coach. Chris
Yeah.
Ballard's a good GM. The Colts just got terrible luck. I mean, Andrew Luck decided to retire in his prime. And since then, it's gone Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz. They got a rotating veteran quarterback, and it just hasn't. They have not been able to land the quarterback, and it's as simple as that. They've ruined, unfortunately, Quentin Nelson's career. They've ruined the end of DeForest Buckner's career. It's a sad thing. I mean, there's some truly awesome football players on this Colts team. And because they haven't been able to get the quarterback position right, they haven't been able to, contend for a Super Bowl. Now Reich's gone. Ballard's probably on the hot seat, and they still don't know who their quarterback of the future is.
Yeah,
who is it?
It's not
probably somebody in the draft. Maybe they do a trade. Maybe it's Jimmy G next year.
I mean, how much do you think Frank Reich just regrets not getting Jimmy G?
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. I think a number of teams probably do.
A lot of coaches, like Matt Rule, could have had his job still.
Yeah.
How about the Rams? You
were right on that one, Larry. You said they wouldn't make the playoffs this year.
But I mean, the Rams had an opportunity if they wanted. They would sound like they were the team that Jimmy might have gone to. How different would this year be for the Rams if they had Jimmy G and if the Niners were staring there with, Trey Lance and Brock Purdy? And I mean, things could have been very, very different.
Oh, yeah. Imagine, the ultimate chaos scenario, I feel like, would be Rams still have the same exact season. And so then in our heads, we're like, oh, and the West was wide open. And then Seattle, instead of going with Geno, picked up Jimmy G. But they were doing basically the same exact thing they're doing right now with Geno. And then the Niners, Trey's injured. And then it's just and all of a sudden the Seahawks are winning the division with Jimmy G.
I'll tell you the other one. Look at this. Nick Chase says, I traded Cooper Kupp for Josh Jacobs 5 weeks ago. I won that trade. How about Josh Jacobs?
45 points yesterday. Yes.
My God.
What the
Josh
hell?
Jacobs is a free agent at the end of the year. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. The Raiders do not know personnel.
They don't.
That guy's a monster.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. So MF was playing tonight in our league. Who was he playing? Whoever he was playing, he was up, but the other guy had Najee Harris, and all his Harris had to do was get 7 points to win, and Harris in the first half gets 10 points, and then he doesn't even play the second half. So poor MF.
We teased a little baseball. We should throw this in here. The Giants have finally made a move, guys. They have re-signed Mauricio Lovera, Drew Strotman, Sam Delaplane, and Colton Welker.
No way.
Minor league contracts.
You're kidding.
No, Mauricio Lovera.
Lovera's back?
Lovera's back.
And Welker?
Wait a second. This just in. Yes, Lovera is back.
And Welker?
Welker's wait.
Oh man, Farhan is such a genius.
Welker
he knows what he's doing.
He's returning.
Guys.
Wait, Nick J wants to weigh in. Welker, baby. Welker.
I can't believe it. I am so stoked. Wait a minute.
Nick J says Papirski. No Papirski. Don't dream that.
Wow,
big.
Dan, you actually almost lost. If Jonathan Taylor didn't get that touchdown, you would have lost your fantasy matchup.
I know.
That's crazy because of the Pittsburgh D. Whoa.
Yeah, the D was, thanks to Matt Ryan getting sacked all the time.
Zillion times.
They get a point on every sack. Oh my goodness. But this is awesome breaking news. Can you read those guys again, Larry?
What's that?
Can you read the names?
Yes, the Giants have just come to terms with Mauricio Lovera, Drew Strotman, Sam Delaplane, and Colton Welker, all agreeing on minor league deals.
Wow.
Lovera is the most accomplished of the group. He signed a minor league deal prior to last season and then dominated at AAA for the River Cats. Giants promoted him. He's going to miss a significant portion of 2023 because he's undergoing UCL surgery. So the Giants just signed a number of players, and the highest profile player they signed will miss most of the upcoming season with UCL surgery.
Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The ticket services lobby at Oracle Park is open Tuesday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Dang it, they're closed! I was going to get my tickets!
Oh, damn.
That's a good gag.
Please note
You
that
could have-
tickets purchased during the Orange and Black flash sale and the 2023 holiday pack will not be available in the MLB Ballpark app or MySF tickets until closer to the start of the 2023 season. Your confirmation email is your proof of purchase, and more information will be shared closer to the start of the season. To receive a call back, please leave a brief message with your name, phone number, and concern. Incomplete messages may result in additional delays in our response. Be well and go Giants.
Please leave a message at the tone. When finished, you may hang up or press pound for additional options.
Yeah, hi, this is Larry Kruger, and I see that you guys signed all these guys, and I want season ticket. Now, I'm on mute.
No.
It's muted. It's muted.
Ridiculous.
I had it
muted.
Larry's like, what's he doing? My
No,
name,
no.
my good name.
Nick J. Oh my effing God. By the way, what would you say is the most exciting Giants rumor you've seen? Is there any? They're not really even being rumored for anything.
No,
Are you seeing any
I
rumors?
I'm sorry. Like, I really want to get excited about this Aaron Judge stuff, but it's just like the Giants to me, it's like the Niners are like super awesome and compelling. The Warriors have a bunch of drama and just won a championship. Like, you know, it's not really doing it for me, these rumors.
Hey, you know what? The way I look at the darn thing is we can talk about Judge coming and signing and what's he going to do. He knows. All right. Aaron Judge is going to the Yankees or the Giants. And I believe
Or the Dodgers.
I don't think the Dodgers are in play. I think it's between the Giants and the Yankees. And he already knows what he wants. I believe he knew weeks ago. And
Glass half full guy is donating $4.99. Says, "Hey Danny, can the Giants fit both Correa and Aaron Judge hypothetically into the payroll? That'd be crazy to me."
Absolutely, they can. They could give Judge $40 million and Correa in somewhere in the low 30s.
There is no cap. Everybody fits. Come on down, right?
No, they've got $100 million, almost $100 million of cap room this year. And then you got to figure that guy Crawford will come off next year. So that's 18 or 16 million. LaStella's 11 will be gone after the following year. Giants should go all the way close to the top of the cap without, their luxury tax, whatever. And they've got basically $100 million to spend. So in my opinion, they need to be doing both.
I mean, somebody asks a question I think it was Pavlovich and Cole Kuiper were going through, should the Giants consider trading top prospect Marco Luciano? I think everything's got to be on the table. I think if somebody's willing to offer you something of significance for Luciano, prospects.
What was that deal you threw out the other day, Larry? Was that basically on?
Well, I was just saying that if you got a Carlos Correa, because I was told that the Giants' first priority is Aaron Judge, and that their second priority is Carlos Correa. Let's just say Aaron Judge went back to the Yankees, and you got Carlos Correa. Would you turn around and trade Marco Luciano for a true ace like a Corbin Burns? And I think I would. I think that would be my pivot point is, now I don't want to get, not because I don't believe in Luciano, just because I think you gotta, if you have Correa, he's your shortstop for the next 5 years.
Well, didn't you send me from Bleacher Report, the trade idea from Bleacher Report? Was that?
For Ohtani?
Yeah, it was Angels get Marco Luciano. Kyle Harrison, Luis Matos. That's their top 3 in order. Mason Black, number 11, and right-handed pitcher Gregory Santos, number 24 for Shohei Ohtani. You asked me if I would do that, and I would.
Oh, definitely.
Say that trade again.
Ohtani,
right,
for Marco Luciano, Kyle Harrison, Luis Matos, Mason Black, and Gregory Santos.
I mean, I would do that as well, but I will say this: Harrison's the tough one to part with.
Yeah,
but you're getting a hitter and a pitcher. I mean, that would be funny if they like don't get Judge and they're like, as it turns out, no, the real priority is actually Ohtani, and then it just keeps going.
Problem doing that with Ohtani without Judge is you just gave up your farm system.
I mean, but here's the whole thing. I mean, this guy says I'd trade the whole team for Ohtani. Ohtani himself would be like a million times better show than anything they had on the field this year.
Yeah, and I think you only make that trade with the idea in mind that you're signing him long term and that you have a deal in place. I
if he's your whole team.
Wouldn't make that deal just on like, oh well, we're going to make that deal, and
you can't make that deal for 1 year of Ohtani.
Yeah, no, you
I'll
make that deal and hope to sign him. No, you have to have a deal in place.
You got to have a deal.
But I got to highlight this comment because I just love it. Mr. Beast Remix channel, he says, Solano should have gotten Yastrzemski's contract 100%, just a super serious thing. And then he follows it up with, from a flavor standpoint.
I will say this about Solano. If you want Solano, he's out there again.
Yeah, I like Nick J's comment here. He says he would trade the entire organization for Ohtani with the exception of Welker.
Yeah, do not move Welker. Is Dixon Machado still with us?
He signed with the Astros.
No, maybe. I just mean, is he still alive? No. Is he still with us? No, because I would trade Dixon Machado. I just don't feel like he's the future.
I don't know. We really want to give him a future.
ESPN ranked the Giants 11th for where Judge should sign. Oh, great.
What a stupid article.
Yeah, I mean,
the 15 places that Judge should sign.
You know,
you got to think though that if he really wanted to be a Giant, he would have signed when he came out.
Yeah. No, I think he's. No? I think it's. I think that would look too obvious to the Yankees. Like, oh, he never was going to come back.
Who's he dragging along though? Is he dragging the Giants or dragging the Yankees? Yeah, I think he's dragging the Giants.
It's all about Von Braun.
Well. Again,
Von Braun, supposedly, I've talked to a couple people with the Giants organization this week that really like Von Braun.
I'm all about Von Braun.
I haven't seen him.
Me neither.
Yeah, I know MF was pretty crazy about him.
MF was like, championing the Von Braun back. Remember David VR when he was the savior?
Oh, yeah.
Glass half full, guys. Just I keep coming back to the idea of trading for Mad Bum. I absolutely would, because to me, Arizona has a couple pieces that could really be huge for the Giants, and Mad Bum is owed enough money. It would be basically like buying those pieces. So like Pavin Smith and Jake McCarthy's a burner and would be a terrific leadoff hitter for the Giants. Pavin Smith would be an ideal replacement for Brandon Belt at first base. And I'd take those two guys in a heartbeat. To take, you tell Arizona, hey, we'll take Madison Bumgarner's $40 million off your hands, that commitment, but we want a couple of your young players. And I think that's a very fair trade. You'd have to send something back, Sean Jelly or something, Seth Corey or both, or some combination of young players. But I would do it.
Yeah, somebody's Farhan Zaidi Twitter parody account. It says,
Dan. Someone. I forgot. Oh, yeah, someone.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know who it is, but
anyway, Farhan Zaidi's parody account made a tweet yesterday.
Yeah. It says here 37 seconds ago, Farhan Zaidi is trending more than Aaron Judge. One reason, I refuse to sign him.
Matthew Mears says, I can't wait for Larry's rant before spring training when the Giants did nothing.
Oh, my goodness.
If you think my rant's going to be bad, Danny's rant to the season ticket people that keep requesting him it's going to be even better. I want to see you torture the season ticket sellers.
Oh,
as they're begging you to come back if they do nothing.
I should send you my email, right? And you can put it up you can just post it right on the screen. I got an email from the Giants today, from my ticket person. And this is what it says. This is from my ticket person at the San Francisco Giants.
Kershaw, Amanda.
Yeah. Dear Dan,
what are your pronouns? Oh, go ahead.
My account number. Yeah. Dear Dan, starting with the 2023 season, Giant ticket purchases will now include the stadium operator admissions tax imposed by the city and county of San Francisco.
Awesome.
The tax applies to all ticket sales, including your season tickets. The average admission tax on 2023 season ticket packages range from $79.50 to $184.50 per seat. As a valued season ticket member, your season tickets can be renewed tax-free until Friday, December 9th.
Ah, little incentive, little carrot, little carrot.
The Giants will cover the admissions tax for 2023 renewals.
Hey, Danny, we got you.
Deadline.
We got you. See the fingers, Danny?
Yeah.
Hey, if you play your cards right, we might even throw in like a $50 gift card.
Do you see me firing my guns?
Yeah.
We're not getting free agents, Danny, but we got your tax.
Yeah, we got your tax.
Dan, your tax.
Would you renew?
Here's my response, and everybody who's in the chat or people who are listening,
say, hey, if you get judged, I'll pay twice the tax.
Here's what your response should be. First of all, it's a little personal. Hi, Amanda. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and it's always nice to hear from you. Please tell Farhan to sign Aaron Judge and Carlos Correa and others to improve the team. I will gladly renew when this is done, but I'm not renewing if he puts the same boring.
What do you think she's like telling her boss, Dan? She's gonna be like, I got this crazy guy that's sending me advice.
You know what?
She'll just forward it over.
No. You know, she's not even forwarding it. She's doing a tally. They probably have a number for this. He's a 47. Yeah, we got another 47. Another 47.
I like to imagine like it's
That's like the guys who say they want Aaron Judge or Carlos Correa. Yeah, it's a 47.
No, I like it to think of it as like, you know how they always have that list of like the 15 most wanted men in the world, and it's like every time Dan sends one of those emails, he moves up the list by like a photo. And now he's slowly climbing to the top.
Listen to the rest of this. I said, I will gladly renew when this is done, but I'm not renewing if he puts the same boring starless team out there next year. Every playoff team last year had one or more stars on their team. This is his 5th year, and I'm tired of seeing a team that won't spend like the Dodgers and Padres. I know he knows that, but ownership in the front office needs to keep hearing it. This is the team with the 5th highest revenue in Major League Baseball, and they need to do whatever it takes to show us fans and season ticket holders they are serious about putting out a competitive and exciting product on the field. And then I close with this. In closing, I'm not from Missouri, but it's time for Farhan to show us rather than just talk about it.
Oh, I like it. Had a nice touch.
Yeah. Wait, I don't get that.
Kind of homespun. He's not from Missouri, but it's a show me state. It's called the show me state, right?
Yeah. You know the capitals, Missouri. What's the capital of Missouri?
Show me, Otani.
No, Missouri's
Ryan
known
knew
as
his capital's a lot better than Danny, if I remember correctly.
Missouri's known as the show me state. Like California is the golden state.
That's what it is. Like show me.
Yeah, show me.
Yeah, show me. Don't tell me. Show me.
Don't tell me. Show me. Damn it.
Yeah. So I'm tired of Farhan's talking. So just go out and get it done. And don't come back. Don't come back and say we tried our best. But because if they get turned down again and strike out in free agency, this is the boy who cried wolf one too many times. Okay, it's just get it done.
What if they really leaned into just like, I think Dan, at one point we had a really stupid show where we were talking about the possibility of just at least making an entertaining team by just signing all of the freaks around the league. Just go around and find everyone that's a freak of some sort.
Somebody with like 7 toes and that kind of stuff.
Just like, like that shortstop for the Pirates that's like 6'7" and he's a shortstop.
O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah. And like bring up Jelly and like, but also maybe have like one guy that's like 5'3".
Well, they should have all guys
get
like
Pat
6'5".
Venditti, the righty and lefty.
But then Larry, when you told, and yeah, Otani, Larry, when you told me that thing about the judge like being a giant, like as in the marketing thing, that got me thinking like, wow, I mean, they've already got Jelly, they've already got the tallest guy. How cool would it be if they just got all of the tallest guys in baseball?
Yeah, do it like everybody's 6'7".
You can get Bradley Zimmer, like the former USF kid, who's also like 6'7".
Make Randy Johnson the pitching coach and Richie Sexton the batting instructor.
How tall's the new guy they drafted?
Go get Taiwan Walker.
Yeah.
How tall's the new guy they drafted? Reggie Crawford.
He's like 19, so that's kind of bad.
Bring him up. He's 6'5", or whatever he is.
Glass half full guy says someone in the Giants ownership needs to put Farhan's feet to the fire. I'm so tired of Farhan talking big and doing nothing. Good Lord. That's really the issue to me.
Yep,
it's not about what he's doing. Do what you want, but shut your pie hole.
Shut your
Seriously,
hole.
nobody stop talking big.
Yeah, because at the trade deadline, what did we hear at the trade deadline when Soto was available? We have what it takes to acquire anybody.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks after the deadline,
JD Davis.
Yeah, 2 weeks after the deadline, he's being interviewed and he said, "Well, we really never had the resources because our guys were having down years in the minors." So why would you come out and say that before? Yeah, now he's saying the same thing all over again.
Wolf thing is just so tired.
He's saying the same thing now.
Under promise, over deliver, not the opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
He's all until proven otherwise. He's all hat and no cattle.
Dan, you actually should be like, you should just like make yourself the Grant Cohn of the Giants and just like be just so angsty about it, but try and get a press pass, because honestly, that's what they're missing. Is like
they would be great.
It would be so
I'm trying
great
to make it happen right now behind the scenes. I'm trying to work it out. Get Danny just front and center with just but that doesn't seem like a real answer to my question.
No.
Maybe you could be like, like Peter Ducey or something. You could be like
Peter Ducey, Fox News.
You could be that guy and just go after the poor White House girl. Just be relentless. Just be relentless and start quoting things and start dating his quotes. Farhan, on the 19th of September,
you said you had the resources, yet
that would be awesome.
And then 2 weeks later, you follow up and said,
there's nothing that people love more than when you start dating what they said. On August 4th, you pointed out that any option was available, and yet when time came, no options were exercised. What say you?
When time came, you re-signed Yaz to $6 million. You signed Wade, and you just brought back Welker and Mauricio Oliveira and five.
Well, I have a buddy who keeps talking about buying a Ferrari, but he actually bought a Ford Festiva used. Would you call him a jackass? Yes, I'm
hoping that somebody said, "What is?"
Well, it's funny you would call him a jackass, because I actually compare it very similarly.
Somebody says, "What is Pete Petulia's job?" I'm hoping it's to get Carlos Correa here, since he had a relationship with him in Houston. I mean, if that's all he does in his tenure, it'd be good. But man, this is. I know it's early, and we don't. But we're just tired of hearing all these promises, getting people's hopes up.
Larry, I think you might have accidentally muted yourself.
But
sorry about that.
Oh. Yeah, but we're elated, Go back to the elated, comment, and I'm thinking about this whole thing.
On November, blah blah blah. You said that you were elated. Quote. Elated. I looked that up on the dictionary. It means you were ecstatic, happy. Well, why were you didn't forget Judge?
What happened? What caused Aaron to sign with the Yankees or the Dodgers. Why were you so elated?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Excuse me. Why were you elated and yet you have the exact same team as last year? Why is it? It's like, I mean, they're gonna be. It's gonna be hilarious to watch.
I'm gonna have to go undercover. I'm gonna have to get a wig and grow a long beard because to get in. Because Hey Spider 8 says Larry Bear has my photo at the press entrance. Do not admit under any circumstance.
Yeah, exactly. Dan would be at like one game, and then they would be like, "Can we see your credential real quick? We just have to change something," and then they would just quickly take scissors to it. And blame some PR lackey. Oh, we're sorry. John in our PR department will be.
No, I just don't think it's really that.
Dan would
difficult.
go from have a season pass to like a daily credential. He has to be evaluated every day to see if his questions are okay.
Yeah, I know Farhan is. He's very intelligent, super smart guy, nice family, all that. But sometimes I think, is he too smart for the actual running the ball club to getting the best guys, because he's so smart and analytical that he thinks he can get this guy and we can match Yaz and Slater here and we can do La Stella here.
What's his best move?
I mean, you know what, Dan?
What's his best move?
Yeah.
What I mean,
Yaz?
Go ahead. What do you got?
To me, it's
Thairo
Rodon.
Estrada?
It's Rodon, Estrada.
Well, how hard is it to spend somebody else's money and hold up a free agent pitcher on a 1-year deal for $22 million? I don't know. Is that really Farhan genius? Did it take a lot of genius for Farhan to pay $22 million for 1 year? If Carlos Rodon's free agent pursuit is his calling card, that's sad.
I think Farhan. I think
what's
Rodon,
his best move? What's his best creative move?
Yeah, I think
Forget
the Rodon
spending
move,
the Giants' money.
The Rodon
Giants
falls into both categories. It falls into his best move and his worst move because he kept him, and all he's going to get is a compensatory pick around pick number 75 in the draft when he could have had a top 100 prospect.
Nick J says JD Davis trade was his best move.
That wasn't a bad deal.
I like JD Davis.
And he also got Zapaki out of that deal and another pitcher. So that could turn out to be a big steal because, unfortunately,
Chris Bryant, he rented
rough.
Chris Bryant for Canario and Caleb Killian. So that was not a good move. They didn't even go anywhere.
We need the updated genius power rankings of Shanahan and Farhan.
I don't know.
Saying,
other
if
moves,
Farhan was really
maybe Flores. Flores
he would
was
have made
good,
some incredible. Move
getting Wilmer Flores here has been good. He's been a good player.
Wilmer.
Imagine if we extrapolated this into a different sport, though. Like, imagine calling some NBA GM a genius for bringing in Nemanja Bjelica.
Yeah, seriously. I think Bob Myers is a genius. He brought in Jermichael Green.
Yeah, it's you can call Jermichael. If anyone should be a genius, it's Bob Myers. He actually has brought in freaking unbelievable all-time players, and done creative things like the Wiggins.
They also kissed off Gary Payton for nothing. They didn't even recognize what they had.
Imagine the Warriors don't have anybody right now as far as Curry, Green, and Clay and Wiggins and so they got 15 guys on the roster, and all as Bob Myers is doing is shuffling guys from 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, trying to find guys that might be
he's a genius.
That's basically what the Giants are doing.
Guy from the Tulsa Vipers. Who's a 2-guard who came off the bench at Michigan State and never actually scored a bucket.
Lamont Wade would be
Lamont
Wade is like Jose Alvarado or something that came out from the G League.
The guy with the Pelicans. The guy with the Pelicans.
Guys, I just picked up Luis Quinones again.
I waved him, but I got him back cheaper. I got him back cheaper.
Anthony Lamb would be the deal of the century. Getting him in, getting starting minutes.
Ridiculous. ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, I guess I would be outside of Judge. I think I'd be most excited if they got Bellinger. And I know a lot of people are like, Bellinger, he's so flawed. But I just think that Bellinger, if the Giants really do have coaches that are better than other coaches, if they really do have a staff that can get something out of somebody, then maybe they can get Bellinger to be something close to what he was a couple of years ago. I like the idea of, I guess, I've always felt like, everybody needs to kind of embrace who they are. So who are the Giants? The Giants are not the team that gets Aaron Judge typically. They're the team that gets, some lesser guy, but they get a good bargain out of it. So it's like, I don't know.
I'm going to go out on the limb here, and I'm going to say this again. And it's probably because I'm an optimist.
Glass half full guy. If the Giants don't go big this offseason, I'm bordering on giving up on this team. They have the cash, spend it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
here's my thing. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this because I have to have optimism. And I think the Giants ownership is a little bit embarrassed. And I don't think Buster Posey would join the Giants ownership to come up completely empty this offseason when it's probably their most critical offseason since 1993, when the Giants were being almost gone to Tampa Bay and they got Barry Bonds to sign. So I think the Giants end up with Judge, and I think they end up with one of the shortstops possibly and a center fielder.
Jesus, you have tremendous confidence.
Well, here's why I say
renew
this.
your season tickets already, dude.
They're going
to get Judge and one of the shortstops and a major arm.
Yeah, and maybe and a center field, someone to play
and a center fielder.
Yeah,
why not?
Whether that's Bellinger or Nimmo. Here's why I say this: they have had
let's reconfigure and put Dan in the main box.
They've had all these months to put the team together, planning. Ownership came out and said, yes, we're well aware before they can even say names because of tampering. We're aware of the person in New York. We're aware of the shortstops. They have to make a bold statement this offseason. Their season tickets are dwindling, and they're going to dwindle more if they come up empty. They ended up at 2.2 million last year, lowest since the park's been open. I guarantee you they're under 2 million if they come back with the same team.
Okay,
Guarantee
I'm gonna actually look at I got the free agent list out. Okay, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna give you what they should do and then I'll put it through the Giants actual machine, and then we'll tell you what they actually will do.
You're gonna put it through the tabulator? Is that like
I'm gonna put it through the Giants processor that includes cheapassery.
Why don't you put it through the Maricopa County tabulators where I live?
This is gonna their fascination on guys who they know. You got to think of the Kapler factor. Will this guy flip the bird to Kapler? You have to be a pro Kapler. There's all kinds of factors. So here we go. Here's the list. Write it down. All right, here we go.
Hold on, let me get a pen.
The Giants need another catcher, and there are several interesting catchers available. Gary Sanchez has power. Mike Zunino has power. Tucker Barnhart has phenomenal defense. Austin Hedges could be a sleeper. It's an interesting list of guys, right? Christian Vasquez is out there from the Red Sox. Obviously, the top catcher on the market, Wilson Contreras.
No, they're not getting him.
I will say the Giants will look at that and they will re-sign Kurt Casale, the 34-year-old. Who they traded away. They will bring back Casale because they like Casale. Familiarity.
It depends if they get Judge. If they get Judge, Austin Wynn is staying. If Judge is signed somewhere else, I think Wynn's days are over.
I'll say Kurt Casale. That's the level of unimpressiveness that I see coming there. All right, at first base, I think Farhan, he could go with Jose Abreu, but he signed today. Anthony Rizzo re-signed. Josh Bell would be a big name. They could re-sign Brandon Belt. There's Yuli Gurriel. But to me, I will say he will sign none of the above. None of the above.
I agree.
No first baseman.
I agree.
Okay. Second base. There's Gene Segura. There's Adam Frazier. There's Josh Harrison. There's Roofned Odor, who I would sign. I like Roofned Odor.
At least he'd be entertaining down there at second base, knocking somebody's,
I will say the Giants will sign no second baseman. Okay, shortstop. There's Trey Turner. There's Carlos Correa, Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson. I think when the only shortstop the Giants will wind up signing will be Didi Gregorius. Didi Gregorius. Okay?
I'm going to say they're going to get Correa.
Didi Gregorius. Okay. Third base. There's Justin Turner. There's Brandon Drury. There's Donovan Solano. There's Matt Duffy. I will say the Giants do not sign any third baseman. All right, outfield, there's Joey Gallo. In left field, Andrew Benintendi. I will say the Giants will sign A.J. Pollock. A.J. Pollock.
Jeez, Larry.
A.J. Pollock. Center fielders, there's Brandon Nimmo. There's Aaron Judge. There's Kevin Kiermaier. There's Bradley Zimmer. There's Odubel Herrera. There's Cody Bellinger. I say the Giants will sign Jackie Bradley Jr. Jackie Bradley Jr. And in right field, Aaron Judge is out there. There's Mitch Haniger. There's Will Myers. I say the Giants will sign
Mitch Haniger.
Steven Piscotty.
Oh no, they just lost Longoria. They need Haniger to replace Longoria on the IL list.
Okay, wait a second. They lose Carlos Rodon. They need a number one starter. They will wind up signing Chad Kuhl. And lastly, they need a big closer in the bullpen. And there's Kenley Jansen and others. They will wind up signing Touki Toussaint. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
That's great.
The Giant free agent signings will be, in no particular order, Kurt Casale behind the dish. Who did I have? Did I have any infielders? Oh, Didi Gregorius.
Didi Gregorius, yeah.
Didi Gregorius. A.J. Pollock in the outfield. And Jackie Bradley Jr. Steven Piscotty.
And your bullpen guy. Oh, Chad Kuhl for your starting pitcher.
Chad Kuhl.
Hey, you know what would be great?
And my bullpen guy, Touki Toussaint. All right, that
if
would
you
be
had
hilarious, dude. That would be so funny if they wind up signing more of my guys.
Nick J says Odor can land a punch. Odor or Draymond in a fight. Who you got?
Oh,
I think that would be great. Sign Odor and just like
kick everybody's ass.
Well, just like the Savannah Bananas in the minor league team for entertainment. Just bring out Odor and Draymond and in between innings and just set up a boxing ring and have a live boxing match. It's just, oh my goodness.
Oh, and then wait, I'll throw in a DH. DH, let's see, there's JD Martinez, Michael Brantley, Trey Mancini. I'll say Edwin Rios.
Of the Dodgers.
Edwin Rios. So there you go. Kurt Casale, Didi Gregorius, A.J. Pollock, Jackie Bradley Jr., Steven Piscotty, Edwin Rios, Chad Kuhl, and Touki Toussaint. That is more likely to be the Giants' offseason than Judge, Trey Turner, Correa. What do you think?
Mike Vass is like is
Larry, I hope you're
sweating
kidding.
bullets. Mike Vass is like, oh no, Larry seems to be in the know. Is he serious?
Exactly. Val Ramos, cheap assery, 100.
Man, that's
that
right
is
up there
awesome.
with the complete meal. That would be a complete list of signings. Yes.
Oh my God! Can you imagine if they came up? If that was their list, Danny, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm just laughing. I'm just
championship. What's it? Remember that guy was TJ Hushmanzilli? He's like championship.
Kenley Jansen for $100 million. Yeah, please.
Yeah. See, I just think it's I don't know.
Nate Gates.
To me,
isn't that a hockey player?
You know, we know that to get Judge, they've got to pay more than whatever the market value is. Giants are in a year where they need to set the market and get competitive again, get fans excited again. And then it gives you time to let your minor leaguers, your prospects come up on the pace that they're ready to come up.
Are the winter meetings Monday?
They are Sunday. They start Sunday in San Diego. I hope to be there.
Are you going to be there?
I hope to be.
Anybody can go to the hotel.
Oh yeah, I can go to the hotel. Yeah, I want to get in with my.
Why don't we go? Why don't you live stream it?
I want to get in there with my credentials and actually get in there and start.
What if Dan made a trade from the winter meetings?
I could do it. I really could. I would make some trades, man.
Danny, we know.
Just give me that dang that checkbook. I managed.
Danny would be like Whitey Herzog, 1980, walking around.
And
I'll give you Templeton. I'll give you Templeton for Ozzy.
Far on. I don't know. This was my first year of fantasy, and I managed my team to a 4th place finish. I don't know if that impresses you, but it should.
I think I may have moved into the playoff picture tonight.
Yeah.
I think I'm in 6th. I think I'm in 6th. I could have moved if
there's plenty of time left for the thing to solve itself.
You were behind Rye now in 10th place, Larry.
Give it time. I'm coming charging from behind.
You got 2 weeks left.
I've got Proctor next week for the second time. He's gonna clap my cheeks.
I don't think I've played Proctor.
Yeah, you played him.
Are you sure?
You play him the last game of the season. Again.
Dan knows my schedule.
It's right in front of you.
I mean, is there anything sadder than knowing somebody else's fantasy schedule?
Well, I just know that you follow Ryan.
Yeah, you got him. You play him. Yeah.
Wait. We actually, Dick J's right. We should do a fantasy baseball league. I've heard like it's you can do like just National League only, and then you can like
a lot of work, dude.
Prospects and stuff. Yeah, you're right.
A lot of work. Fantasy baseball is like, come on.
Yeah, I don't.
That's like a job.
Yeah,
I mean, I would play fantasy baseball, but I got a wife.
Dan, maybe we co-manage a team together or something.
Yeah, Larry, you got Cup runneth over in week 14, and next week
I'm coming, Cup.
You give you a cup check.
And in week 13, Larry
Nick J says I've done a full season.
You have MF
grind.
You have MF next week, and it's a must-win for each of you. It's a must-win at this point for almost everybody.
Yeah, well,
or is it a can't lose? I'd say maybe it's more of a can't lose than a must win.
You can't lose. Rye
too much says is Pedro Feliz still available.
Rye's got a shot. Rye has won 3 in a row since the controversy.
Yeah,
I needed a little bit of deep in NBA and NHL fantasy.
Hey, Rye has won.
Do people play NHL fantasy?
That's disturbing.
I'll say this: I have buddies who play PGA fantasy.
Really? Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
It's actually kind of fun.
Like F1 also.
Can we extend the trade deadline in the league, Commish? Can we push it to Saturday?
I think that I've made enough changes
where you automatically lose somebody.
Should we push? We got to do something to make it a little bit more entertaining. Plus, we do need to collect the dues this week.
Okay. Yeah, I got. I'll collect some dues.
Let's collect the dues.
Let's collect those dues. Let's get an email out to everybody and say pay up or you're
going
automatic.
Going to jail.
If you haven't paid by week 14's game,
you'll be tasered.
You're automatically forfeit. How's that? That 14 is going to be
automatically forfeit.
Yeah, automatically. If you haven't paid $25, I mean, come on. It's not like we're asking for somebody.
Just say this. Just write a nice little letter. Say pay the 25, or we're sending you on Friday to collections, and just see how that goes over. Is that too strong?
There you go. Collections.
We're sending you all to collections in our friendly fantasy league for our YouTube channel. We're now sending all of our closest friends to
and we're sending Pasquale
to collections, and there'll be a guy from the league who comes to your house no matter where you live.
Don't worry, as long as you pay in a timely fashion, this it'll only be on your credit score for the next 7 years.
Yeah.
We have a guy named Carlo who's coming to your house no matter if no matter where you live. So don't worry. You don't. In fact, don't try to pay online. Wait for the guy to come to your house. Collect. We will be collecting all dues in person.
That'd be a good. That'd be
awesome.
Good,
there's going to be a guy from our league who will make contact with you and come to your home.
I should make a video. Get the guy from the Hall of Fame to show up at the door with the yellow jacket.
That would be like, imagine if my punishment was I had to just go collect all of these in person through all the various places in the Bay Area and maybe a few out of state.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Wait a minute, that could be your punishment.
And that's like
Rye will be spending in a year where gas costs $1 million. Yeah. Rye will be driving cross country.
That's his punishment.
This year, the commissioner, amidst the controversy,
never collected. And
the devil will get his dues.
The commissioner who never collected would be in the playoffs right now if it wasn't for Sean Brock.
Actually, you know what? We went the total distance to make it really special, since there was a lot of controversy involving Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet himself will be collecting the dues.
Oh my God! Wait, it would be fun. We should see if Cole Kmet is on any of those sites, like the celebrity sites.
Cameo?
You pay like $50 for Cole Kmet to give a message.
Hey Cole, we actually had a little bit of a controversy, interestingly enough, involving yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be funny.
Wait, there's breaking news. Larry just switched his tight end, Pat Freiermuth. He didn't get it in time, but he got the rookie from the Colts tonight and just inserted.
I inserted him after the game, and I did go on and win. It was incredible that I could find a guy after the game who still could give me the points I needed. But, my defense is I do have 4 leagues going. So, all right. Hey, all right, let's see.
How did he do
Nick
tonight?
J says I vote to eliminate the tight end from my league. They suck.
I've heard people come with some interesting takes, like now that there's so many running quarterbacks, like maybe you make passing yards. If you want to make it as accurate to the game as possible, you could make like passing yards actually count the same as rushing yards, because that, technically like the quarterbacks are.
What you got to do next year? We got to just drive Dan. We've given him a little taste of the goods, and now next year we ought to introduce IDP and just watch him go off the charts.
God. What is IDP?
IDP is individual defensive players. And you'll be thinking of tackles and sacks and safeties and trading linebackers and projecting linebackers.
I've enjoyed this fantasy football. I didn't know it was so fun.
I know you have.
Yeah. Dan, next year I'll let you be like my silent co-manager in one of my like high stakes leagues.
But if you look at the deals.
We've introduced Danny to several things this year.
Proctor's made 11 moves. Mario from Farhan's Packard Bell has made 16 moves. Vicky Pelich not Boone, Pelich has made 21 moves. Kalba, also known as Peter P., 9 moves. Fresh in, fresh out, that would be Carlo, 28 moves. 24 frames, the great Nick Martinez, 6 moves. I think he has a life. Outside of, he's probably making a lot of money too. Let's see. Ryan's remarkable team has made 27 moves. DJ Venus, 15. Justin's great team, who also got taken, made 15, got taken by the Krugerrands. The Krugerrands have made 35 moves. Pasquale's team has made 56 moves.
56 moves.
But listen to this. MF has made 78 moves.
I like it.
And he's not done.
I like it.
MF is waving guys after each crappy performance. They're gone.
He's 78 moves.
Yeah, he's going to get the Farhan move because what he's doing is he's shuffling the back end of his roster.
You know what we should do would be a phenomenal thing is, since it is fantasy and so much of it is about making smart moves and not making dumb moves, we should have an award for the dumbest move of the year.
Yes, we should definitely do an award show.
Dumbest move of the year, like the best player that was cut early on. In the first 3 weeks, somebody cut somebody awesome.
Or like if like a superstar running back was traded for like a receiver with like a bat, like, you know.
Right, yeah. The worst move of the year goes to
we got to look that
blah,
up.
blah, blah, who on October 7th cut DeAndre Hopkins for Marlon
That would
Mack.
be...
No. You know what would be good is like, we should do
it would be so obvious looking at it.
It was close to being CeeDee Lamb,
it.
but you got Walker out of the deal, so it turned out okay. But you were,
yeah.
You know, it'd be funny is like,
it could have been
imagine
CeeDee Lamb. It could have been Walker. You trading Walker.
Imagine if we had like
I got
CeeDee
Lamb out of it.
Imagine if we had a weekly
Allen.
Imagine if we had a weekly penalty
where nothing.
Okay,
he's still number one.
Now
receiver.
he is kind of good though. Yeah. But imagine if we had a weekly thing
Too
where
late.
If there was every week we voted on the worst trade proposal that was sent out and the most disrespectful, unfair trade proposal. And if you were that person who sent that trade proposal, you get like a -10 on your team that week. That would be fun.
Danny sent me a trade the other day that had only guys that had red ink next to their name, which means they're hurt.
Oh, Murray. You're talking about Murray and more?
Fields.
Oh, Fields and more, yeah.
A bunch of guys who didn't play. I'm watching that fantasy show on Sunday morning, and I'm like, Dan offered me all those guys. They're all sitting out.
Yeah, I was giving you the chance to put guys away for possible playoffs.
It's week 13.
Yeah, but now
senior softball games, $2. Did you guys see the Hall of Fame committee for bonds?
Yeah,
Chance?
I did see there's 16 guys. Most of the guys are former major leaguers.
Hey, by the way, before we call it quits here, we're coming up on midnight. Tomorrow, if the U.S. doesn't beat Iran at 11 a.m., they don't get out of the round.
It's Iran, not
I
Iran.
already bet on.
Did you see that? Did you see the reporter that?
No, Iran
got on the U.S. got on the captain about calling him, and
saying
he handled it really well.
Adams or whatever.
I don't know much about the soccer. I just saw it on
Pulisic.
Will you guys watch that tomorrow? I think I will.
Yeah.
What time's it come on?
11
in California.
Yeah, I already bet it.
So it'll be.
I bet on
You've
Iran.
already bet it.
I bet on Iran +0.5.
You bet on Iran
+0.5.
That's defining right there.
Wait a minute.
Why's not part of us?
I pay for victories.
Oh, you're not even a countryman.
I pay.
What kind of guy bets on Iran against America?
Man,
I pay for my victories.
Iran, those guys are like killing women and everything over there. They're just.
I mean, would you ask for a poster of the Ayatollah?
Well,
oh my goodness.
Khomeini?
This is worse than
It's gonna hurt
the
the
Komet
YouTube
controversy. This is worse than Komet.
Yeah, seriously, this is
wait,
worse.
Dan, who's the
At least
captain of who's the captain of this U.S. team again?
I don't know. I don't. I just know I'm pulling for America.
No, I
You have
like
to
to
dip your head like that when you say it.
I like to bet against. Sometimes I like to bet against my teams, and I just rationalize it as I'm paying for championships.
Look at that. How could you go against America?
Well,
I'm going to go inside right now and watch Miracle on Ice.
I'm calling the IRS. They're coming after you.
You're calling ISIS? They're on my side, I thought.
Hey, what did you guys think about Jose Abreu signing? Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, he signed with the Astros.
Yeah, man, the
So-
Astros are just loaded.
Yeah, they're loaded. They're absolutely. Oh,
What
yeah.
if it? I mean, here's the
captain
other
is
thing that
full-
nobody
full
seems to be
of
talking
bullshit.
about is that this Judge thing. I thought it was going to be like, hey, Judge, would only want to sign with the Giants. I mean, it makes sense that Judge probably only would sign with the Giants if they improved their team. And do you think it's hurting their chances that they're not improving their team?
I think they've got a plan. I think they got a plan. I think finally they have a plan. And I think what it took was Buster Posey and Larry Bear
And Larry Kruger.
and stepping up and saying, this team is not going to be the laughing stock of the National League West going forward. We're not going to, if we go down and lose, we're going to do it with some stars because they can't afford to do that. It's not like they are the Pittsburgh Pirates and stuck in, purgatory with their revenue. This is the fifth largest producing team in Major League Baseball, the 42nd richest franchise in all of sports. We're talking NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball.
Oh, seniors
soccer.
calling you out.
What's this? Our fans like Dan couldn't handle.
You can't handle a rebuild.
I could have easily handled a rebuild if they would have started one in 17 and stuck with it, but they haven't stuck.
He's
with
calling you out. He says you can't handle a rebuild.
You can't handle the rebuild.
Can you not handle a rebuild, Coach Emilio?
Yeah, I can handle it very easily. Believe me. Believe me. If the Giants aren't in the race, I want them to lose 100 games because then they can rebuild. I don't go for 81 and 81 and it's like, hey, close is great and what? What's the saying that close only is good in hand grenades and what?
Horseshoes.
Horseshoes and hand grenades. Yeah. I mean, I don't.
And soccer. Sometimes.
They won games last year to finish 81 and 81. I was actually disappointed. I wanted them to be thoroughly embarrassed. They got hot at the wrong time, No, I mean, either be in the race, really in the race, the last week of the season, or rebuild it.
I'll tell you, one thing I saw the other day that I think was kind of interesting. I saw there's the MLB Network has those MLB Presents shows, and it was on the 80s Cardinals. And it was just showed how there was 3 times in the 80s the Cardinals hit under 100 home runs as a team and stole over 200 bases and had this incredible speed. Willie McGee, Ozzie Smith, Lonnie Smith, Tommy Herr, and Vince Coleman. And I'm just kind of wondering how cool would that be if there was one team in the game where they just had ridiculous speed. And they didn't have any power, but they just had ridiculous speed like the Cardinals had. And, to me, I'd be interested in seeing, I think in baseball right now, if you kind of take the Moneyball concept of, bid on players that other people don't want. Nobody seems to value speed. Nobody really utilizes speed. What do you think of trying to go find, some difference-making speed? Start with Trey Turner and, make this offseason about speed and not power. And
speed is going to come into play next year because I believe the stolen base is coming back because next year you can
trade for Jake McCarthy.
You can only throw over to first base next year 2 times. Okay. The third time you throw over,
Yeah, what happens?
if it doesn't result in a pickoff, I believe they get automatically awarded the base.
What?
I'm trying. Someone correct me on that, because
Baseball's going to suck next year.
they're going to. You can only throw over to first twice. The third time, if it doesn't result in being picked off, it's either a ball.
3 strikes and you're out.
We want the larger bases. Nick J says the bases will be slightly larger.
Slightly larger. Yep. And no shift. So they're going to need guys that are athletic at second short, because they're going to have to go into the hole and up the middle to be able to get balls. And
Anonymous says it counts as a ball.
Is a ball. I knew it was something. So it's an automatic ball. So if you got, 2-0 and you're throwing over to first thinking the guy's going to steal, and you throw over there. So what's going to happen is guys are going to be ready to take off after they've already thrown twice. They're going to get some incredible jumps, because that's where you got to be ready to throw over and pick them off. If you
might be able to find some speed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking to see who's fast out there that's available. Who's got who's a
Benintendi fast? Is Benintendi fast?
Pretty fast. Trey Turner's really fast.
Yeah,
Bellinger's fast.
Is Cesar Hernandez pretty fast?
Yeah, Bellinger's fast.
Jose Peraza's really fast. Remember Jose Peraza?
To me, I would just go get Bellinger. I mean, gosh.
Bellinger's fast.
Yeah. Solves a lot of problems, potentially. I mean, 1-year deal, what do you got to lose? You've already given Jock $20 million for a year. I mean,
A.J. Pollock's kind of fast.
Yeah.
He's a little bit older. Is Nemo fast? Nemo?
Nemo's very fast, yeah. I don't know if he's quick, but he's fast.
Roman Quinn? He's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Tim Castro?
Oh, he's very fast, but he can't do much else.
Hit.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Hey, speaking of Darren Ford, somebody put Darren Ford in the comments. Saw Dusty at the basketball Sacramento Kings game tonight at the
he lives in Sac.
Yeah, what do they call it? The G1? What is it called?
Golden One Center.
Golden One, yeah. So it looked like he was there with his son Darren. Looked like it was Darren next to him.
Yeah,
but
isn't he a minor leaguer for somebody?
I believe so.
Might have been a first-round pick, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't a first-round pick. I think
he
was. No, I think he was much later. Let me look. Darren
Warriors,
Baker.
by the way, go tomorrow night, right, Rye?
Yeah.
Yes.
That'll be a good one.
Who do they get?
Mavs.
Frank Red's going to join us tomorrow night.
Round 10, Darren Baker went round 10 to the Nationals.
Man, are you guys like, I feel like there's, I'm hearing everybody has like just like a slight cold right now.
Yeah.
You got it.
It's just a general, it's like
My
a general
kid's got
cold.
it for a second time.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, throughout this live stream, I've slowly started to lose my voice and have a
I've heard
plugged
that
out
out of
nose.
you, yeah. You better get that Zycam down you, man. We should get Zycam on here as a sponsor.
Zycam.
I could sell that Zycam. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, I could.
Give me your
Zycam.
pitch.
Hey man, you want to?
Hey man,
sit there and
You want 1,000 grams
feel
of
like
tea?
crap for 7 days while your cold replicates, or you want to kill it in the first 2 to 3 days? Take your Zycam, and you'll be fine.
Wait, I think I might actually have some of that stuff.
Take your Zycam and you'll be fine.
No, seriously. I mean, it every now and then you get a monster cold that it just can't.
Just go for a 15th booster, dude. Just boost yourself. Just keep boostering.
Keep boostering. I'm not. I'm completely.
Are you out of the booster game?
I never got vaccinated.
Oh, you were never vaccinated.
No.
See, I'm vaccinated.
Yeah.
I didn't go booster, but I vaccinated. Should I be boostering?
No. Doesn't work.
I feel like I'm fine. Nick J, I'm done with boosters. I think most of America's done with boosters.
Yeah. Fauci, well, don't get me going.
He loves his booster. He's
There
still
you go.
getting boosters. Zycam, there you go.
The best ones are the
Things like
chews. Let me show you the best ones. These are really good.
How many do I take?
Just keep taking them. You just keep firing those bad boys away until it's one every hour till it's just gone.
Dad told me to stay up all night taking them every hour.
Just keep taking them. Just keep taking that stuff until there you go.
These are really good. Medicated.
I think he's got gummies.
Yeah, these are gummies, man. They come in orange.
Danny's got every little
lemon.
I'll have one. Take a bite.
Lemon.
Yeah, try one.
I took them last week. I was getting a cold.
Starbucks. It's like a Starburst.
Yeah, red and orange.
The like fruit colors. Snacks.
They're really good. But I started getting a cold on Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, and I just started taking these, popped a bunch of vitamin D, and then took some oil of oregano, and what? I was fine.
Oil of oregano.
Yeah, oil of oregano pills. Yeah, they're an antioxidant. They're like a natural antibiotic. They work with bacteria and non-bacteria. So they're really good. So keep that on hand. It killed that thing in like less than about 24 hours. I was fine.
Oil of Olay or oil of oregano?
Oil of oregano. They're little
not
capsules.
Oily oregano.
No, oil of oregano. I'll show you.
You don't get oregano and put a little oil and then eat.
No, I'll show you. Hold on here. I got everything.
That's like Prince Harry.
Nick J's like take turmeric and get dewormer.
Oh, what is that stuff called again? The
turmeric kind of smells kind of sweet. My wife
got some turmeric.
Eats some turmeric.
All right, oil of oregano.
Kevin Naff. Whatever happened to chicken noodle soup?
Take that, and then your vitamin D, 5,000 milligrams. But when you're not feeling good,
you're like fuck. He's like Ursay over here.
Yeah, you take about.
You put him in a pillowcase?
No, you take about when you're starting to feel bad. Of course, I take it every day. But if you're getting sick, take about 75,000 units.
More of them.
You take like 15 of them. They're 5,000 milligrams each. Take 75,000 for like 3
Senior
days.
Softball game says turmeric is great for the joints.
Yeah, it is.
But what if you're not smoking joints?
So
what's in Dan's pill box? Vicky Boone, pill doctor.
Actually, I don't take any prescription meds. Mm-mm.
Really? Nothing.
None. So far,
a miracle worker.
So far, 61. I'm not on any prescriptions. I hope I never have to take
no
them.
Statins.
No.
No thyroids.
No.
No.
I take
no antaz. No like.
I take beta cytosterol for it reduces cholesterol.
Oh, Sean Merriman took that, I think.
Beta blockers.
What if Dan just start having these ridiculous traps?
Yeah.
I'd have to put my Jimmy Garoppolo hat on, man.
This is Dan Coach Emilio. I'm here for Stana's ball. Now, I take this elephant tranquilizer 3-4 times a week. My traps are incredible now. I've got back acne for days, but man, I can clear a room with one of my farts. But man, it's an incredible. I have got incredible power.
I'm kind of down to maybe try like deer antler spray, that stuff that Ray Lewis was taking.
Yeah, what the hell? Why not?
I mean, how bad could it be?
Hey, Nick J says he actually has the ointment that got Tatis busted. Wonder what the heck that stuff is. Is that the stuff you rub on your
Pasquale?
Yeah.
I'm Larry Kruger for androstenedione.
Yeah, we become exclusively sponsored by various steroid companies.
Yeah, exactly. Get your Betamax 2479. Get it now. Get it while it's hot. Get it. Be like Romo.
Yes, your balls may shrink, but it's actually kind of good because it makes your Pasquale look bigger.
Every other night, we've got like Bill Romanowski stopping by. Romo, what do you got? Yeah, I got my PS24, man. Just take this, just pile down a bunch of amino acids and just crush this stuff, dude.
Oh, you just peed like 99% of all that shit.
All right, good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, Warriors against Mavericks, and I think Frank Red's going to join us. Maybe one of these days the Giants will make a move.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling something coming.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back.